And what's happening, guys? Hey, stay blazed. What's going on out there, guys? Welcome along to what isn't an episode of 420 News, guys, as it is 420 though. So it's the 420 chats today. I happen to get a bit of free time there today. Not enough free time to be able to prepare for a 420 News episode. But I did manage to get my interview that I did yesterday with Phil Monk edited. Had a few little bits there that needed to be removed as another star of the show had decided to join us and interrupt once or twice, and that was Elijah. Myself and Phil Monk sat down for chats yesterday morning, and I was babysitting as well. I was minding my son at the same time. So my daddy duties, and also my duties there as a citizen campaigning for cannabis legalisation. I got up there and I done my bits and pieces. So yes, that was good fun. And I will have that interview there on the show in just a little bit for you guys. But before we get to the interview, sure, we can just have chats and shoot the breeze a little bit there. Get your comments into the hot box, and I'll get around to reading your comments there in a couple of seconds as well. I'm just gonna pack me up a bowl here. But before I do, I better get the interview actually lined up. Because it's probably a large enough file, so it might take a couple of minutes for it to upload itself. So we'll give it a couple of seconds there to do its thing. So right, let's pack a bowl. Oh yes, stuff is already grinded. Seriously, like there's somebody out there who really needs to hurry up and invent smell-o-vision, you know what I mean? Probably come with the new metaverse. Strange times. Strange old times. Who's out in the audience? Pods is out there. What's happening, Pods? Pods saying, evening, everyone. What's going down, Pods? Hopefully you're well out there, buddy. Keith Griffin's in the audience. What's up, Martin? And everyone, what's happening, Keith? Welcome back to the show. It's good to see so many regular listeners, guys. I must be doing something right to say that we get people coming back, like, you know, because it's not by fluke that you're coming back anyway. So it's good to see all these familiar faces or familiar names anyway. Billy Bonds, another regular listener of the show. What's happening, Billy? 422 is 422. Smoky, everybody. Yes, love it, Billy. Yes. Within the space of 2 minutes, there's there's four actually, because there's three, sorry. There's 424 as well, because what else is 424? Yes. So by the time I have my bowl packed up here, I'll be ready for 424. A little bit of music there. Did you hear that music? Anybody else who hits the bong, they know that glass and glass tapping, what that means. Or maybe you got a special bowl and you don't want to risk breaking it, so you just clean it out with an old pokey. That's the right way to do it, is having an old pokey, like, you know. I'm just fucking the old redneck man, just banging that glass off the glass, like, you know, making primitive old music. Bowl is packed just in time for 424, guys, because what else is 424? Blazing up, of course. Engaging in civil disobedience on 420 News with your show host, Martin Condon. So let's blaze on up, guys. Yeah, see lots of comments flying in there in the last few seconds. Keep them coming, guys, and I'll get through. I'll get through them all. Wet Willie's in the audience. What's happening, Wet Willie? Billy Bonds, high in chat wankers. And Hype is out there. What's happening? And DB Woodcraft as well. Martin's double jobbing. Man, I do much more than double jobbing, man. I'm a multitasker of a high magnitude. Barry Fields is in the audience as well. What's happening, Barry? and share the stream, everyone. We're closing in on the 2000 or 2K. Fair play. Nice one, Barry. Yes, guys, get that get the stream shared out there. Share that YouTube link across the platforms and help get a few more subscribers, and we'll break that 2K milestone. Who else is out there? Jambag. What's happening, Jambag? Jambag's tuning in over there on Twitch. And Jambag O. And Shining in the Bucket's out there as well. Would actually love a coffee right now. 'Tis a real vice of mine. I have mine as well. My vice is a bit of coffee in the morning. And kind of once we get past 12 o'clock, it's like, all right, no, it's like no more coffee now for the rest of the day. But yeah, that's just my kind of relationship with it. Karen McCrory, what's happening? Hello there from Tyrone. What's happening, Karen and Tyrone? Hunter K is in the audience. Howdy, Hunter K. Hope you are well. John Finnegan as well. Fecker Condon never sent me a reminder. Sorry, Mr. Finnegan. I apologise. Please forgive me. Cassidy Strugas as well. And Mustawiz giving a shout out to Pods and Hunter. And Cassidy Strugas giving a shout out to Malta. And guys, yes, we'll touch on Malta in a little bit. But yes, big shout out to Malta who've done wondrous thing here in Europe. Daily Talker. What's happening, Daily Talker? Martin doing something right is the biggest understatement. Nice one, Daily Talker. Wet Willie, lads and lassies, and others in the audience. Green Tea is out there. Liam O'Gorman is out in the audience as well. What's going on, Liam? And Green Tea, welcome to the show, guys. And Liam says, how's it going, Martin? Is the hat you're wearing in your shop? Yeah, it is indeed. If you follow the link in the description, there's like Streamlabs /Martin Condon 1, I think is the link. And that will bring you to a place where you'll be able to find the merch store. I'm sure one of the guys there will be able to stick a link into the comments there as well. Where are you asking? Oh, you're over on Facebook. So you won't see the link on the YouTube chat, as I'm sure that's probably where it's going to get landed. But maybe somebody over there on Facebook might be able to hook you up with a link in the chat there as well. But it's on the streamlabs.com /Martin Condon 1. And that'll bring you to a landing page where you can make donations to the show, but you'll find a merch store there as well, where you'll find this lovely hat. And also, actually, as we're on it, I'll I think it's worthwhile to go over to the merch store. So it's a streamlabs.com /Martin Condon 1. Oh yes, that is it. Yeah. And then put another slash after that and merch, and you'll get the merch up there next. But yes, I'll have to show you the new T-shirt that's up there on the merch store. I think it's worthwhile. I put a little bit of effort into it, guys. Just keep in mind, I am not an artist at all by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so just forgive me if there's any real artists out there, if I've butchered this. But yes, you get loads of stickers up there, loads of stickers. There's the hats, but this is the latest addition to the merch store, and it's grow your own dope, plant a politician. And I don't know if you might recognize the politician there, but it's a famed politician of our community. And that's his profile photo over there on Twitter. This guy's been featured on the news a few times as well. So yes, kind of. Anybody in the chat want to enlighten me on who this guy is? I think I might be able to pop a better photo up on screen here as well, just for the crack. Put a lot of effort into this, guys. Took me ages. Working on this over on Adobe Illustrator. So that's where I managed to put this little thing together. Oh shit! Nearly crashed my stream because this file was actually so big. Oops. But yeah, there it is. That's what's printed on the T-shirt. It's available in yes, good old Frankie. Yeah, that was myself. Done a little bit of tracing there with the illustrator. Traced over his profile photo. Made a little cartoon illustration of himself. Added legs onto myself then in my own logo. And twisted my arm around a little bit to be holding the shovel. And Voila! Grow your own dope, plant a politician. And I plan to have a little bit more fun as well over the Christmas period, just as I sit down. I won't be streaming as much, we'll take a couple of days off, but I will be playing around with the Illustrator and coming up with a few more different, just creative pieces there, just bring more attention to this campaign. I should have probably stuck in a hashtag Cannabis Reform Ireland badge on Frank or something like that. But we can edit it and change it up if needed, as these thoughts come to mind after the fact. But yeah, that's over there on the merch store. So streamlabs.com/Martin Condon 1//merch. So that's how you find that merch store. So yes, Malta then, guys. Malta have gone and done it. They're the first country in Europe now to legalise cannabis. Malta have gone and done it yesterday after the cannabis legalisation bill went to the third and final vote, which is great. It's an amazing achievement there for Malta to be able to do this. They're going to be the first country now in all of Europe to actually legislate for the cultivation and the supply of cannabis. Although the supply does not include the sale of cannabis, the supply is going to be done through cannabis social clubs. So members of our citizens of the country, if they don't want to grow their own cannabis, or maybe they can grow their own cannabis and be a member of a club at the same time, actually. I didn't see anything there to say that a person couldn't do that. So a person over there now in Malta is able to grow up to 4 plants legally. That's going to be signed into law by the weekend. Or it's going to be signed into law, actually. It was done yesterday by the president, and it's going to be enacted then by the weekend. So effectively, people are probably starting to germinate seeds over there already. They were probably doing it a week or so ago, because this looked like it was a given. And it is now. It's done. It's dusted, and cannabis is no longer that much of a criminal offence over there in Malta. I have a little video there. I'll pop it up on screen for you. So where is that Chrome gone again? There we go. Boom. So this is coming at you from Reuters.com, and it's a little video there from Malta. Why are you celebrating? Yes! 420! That's what he said. He said 420. The boys are delighted. That was the minister there. I just go back. So this guy there in the suit, the only guy there in the suit, he was the minister behind all of this. Owen Bonsini, Equality Minister. There his name is. Equality Minister Owen Bonsini. And he was a big supporter and pusher of this campaign. We got it in the air. Yes, we got it in the air. A bit of a pun there, was there? Yes.
Thank you.
Grazie, Bertie. Yes.
What we did here in Parliament is historical, because it's the first time that we have managed to push forward the legislation which will do a number of good things. First,
he looks a little red-eyed to me there, but I'd imagine he's probably very emotional because of the achievement and what it means there. But there's probably jokers out there be like, hey, look at him, he's after talking on already. But I've been a bit red-eyed before myself, but because of some of the emotional stories. So maybe that's emotion we're seeing there in this guy's eyes.
First of all, it will stop once and for all the criminalization of people who for a lot of time have been criminalized when they are not criminals. So we have put an end to the criminalization of people who are not criminals. Secondly, we are going to curb drug trafficking, cannabis trafficking, by making sure that people who make use of cannabis now have a safe and regularized way from where they can obtain cannabis.
So massive achievement, like massive. Just little clips of Malta then afterwards. Beautiful spot, guys. Highly recommend a visit. Really nice island. It's a very small island as well. You'd travel the whole lot of it there within a day or so, probably less. But a beautiful place nonetheless, and even more worthwhile worth to visit now, given that they're going to have cannabis kind of social clubs over there. Like, again, as a tourist, when you go over there, these changes in the laws, I don't think they mean much to us Except the fact, maybe it might be easier now to get access to cannabis on the street, if there's not going to be an avenue for tourists to get access to it. Well, of course, there's going to be opportunists now going to be pop up in the street and say, hey, come here, do you want some marijuana? You want some cannabis? Do you like some cocaine? Because as soon as it's going to be sold on the street by people like that, opportunists, well, it's just going to be smart of them just to have a multitude of drugs in their coat pocket to offer tourists. So look, well, it is a great achievement. For so much positives to take from this. There still remains that cannabis cannot be legally sold over there. You have to only get it through these social clubs. So I don't know, as a non-citizen in there, can I sign up to a club and have cannabis grown there for me? And when I come, then there'll be cannabis available for me to consume. It'd be great if I could. But the clubs are limited in their membership to, I believe it's 500 people, and I think it's 4 plants then per member that they can grow. So therefore, a limit of 2,000 plants can be grown by a club for its membership. So other restrictions there as well: 250 meter zones, exclusion zones around places like schools, public parks, stuff like that. Other restrictions also include a restriction on how much cannabis a person can carry on themselves. I think it's restricted under 5 or 7 grams in public, and if you get caught with more than that, up to 28 grams, still carries with it a fine, but that's not a criminal fine. It's just kind of one of these public sanction type things. So yeah, very positive stuff. This is definitely going to send more waves around Europe as well, as they are a European country. So these are European citizens now who are having their rights respected by their government, and they're affording them the opportunity to reduce the harms in a true sense of the word harm reduction, by allowing citizens to grow their own cannabis and to be able to socialise in these social clubs with other consumers of cannabis too. So that's a great achievement there for citizens of Europe, and us here in Ireland, we are also citizens of Europe, and we need to be afforded these same protections. So we need to fight for this. It's possible. They've shown it's possible in Malta. We've an opportunity here now next year. So to hell with the naysayers who say, it's another couple of years down the road. And we have to fight tooth and nail now in the most peaceful sense of the word next year for cannabis legalisation if we're going to want to see it to happen. Here's some more photos. Malta's Prime Minister, Robert Abela, and he also put out a positive tweet there also yesterday in support of this move by the Maltese government. I shared that over on my own Twitter if you want to go over and check that one out. But it's great support over there from the government and the people as well. Very, very happy they are. And as we were talking about it there on Monday's 420 News, the only people unhappy about this was the churches, the religious groups, the extremely conservative NGOs in amongst the country there. So yeah, the hell with those guys. Do you know what I mean? They'd rather you remain under a model of prohibition. What are you all saying out there in the comments? Let's go, Fian. Yes. Let's go, Fian. And R420 Supplies saying, love it. Arms folded, Frankie. Job done, don't you know? Others in the comments. Green Tea says, I'm dancing in the street when we legalise. And then I'm going into business. Yes. I'll be calling around there to the cannabis to cafe green tea. Because I'm sure you will be getting some top quality cannabis, but also top quality service too, I'd imagine, at Cafe Green Tea. Yes, I'll be dancing with you, Green Tea in the street, once cannabis is legalised here in Ireland. And it is coming, guys. It's coming. It's around the corner. Next year, 2022. 2022 is going to be the new 420. At least for the Irish scene anyway, because it'll be the year that cannabis becomes decriminalised in Ireland, and we'll be allowed to grow our own plants at home and socialise too at clubs. Green Tea says, I put a picture, oops, I'm after losing where that comment went there now, sorry. I can put a picture of myself up so people can finally stop calling me bro. um, Daily Talk, or how about sis, or something along those lines. uh, you're lucky you're not from Cork, Green Tea, because they'll be all calling you boy down here. Because I've a habit of doing that as well, you know what I mean, boy? Sorry, boy. I mean, no offense, sister. Daily Talk, or what is this alien concept you speak of? Daily Talker says, I'm not too sure, can't imagine or comprehend Maltesers be all like teasing us and shit. I wonder, did the Maltese take offense to being called Maltesers? If so, less of that now, guys. That's kind of racist, is it? Green Tea says, I don't know about the service, but I'll grow the bud. Yes, love it. Billy Bonds as well, Daily Talker's imagination is far too much. Even aliens don't believe that governments will respect your rights. Yeah, that's right. Like, you know, that's why aliens don't like show themselves. You know, they're hiding out from our government, because once they show themselves, the governments are just going to be like charging them all sorts of fucking tax. It's going to be like the visiting Earth tax, the spaceship tax. And then, like, you know what I mean, that space cannabis that they have, and those space mushrooms, like, geez, they're going to be prohibited straight away as well. Like, so those aliens ain't revealing shit until we get this prohibition done with, you know, and get our rights respected by the government. And maybe then the aliens will kind of come out and say, hey dudes, there we are. Sheen Bradley in the audience, fuck's sake, bye. And Liam Og, thanks lads, not a bother at all, Liam Og. Oisin saying, if they rush the vaccines, why can't they rush research that they apparently need for cannabis? I've been saying this all along. Why isn't there been research done with the many people who've already gotten access to cannabis in Ireland? Why isn't Alicia Maher being afforded an opportunity to come back to Ireland, get access to cannabis under a research program, and even be given it free, because it's too bloody cost prohibitive because of prohibition again? But no, they don't do that. Why? Because they've probably got a bit of a hidden agenda. As we'll be kind of chatting with Phil Monk, as well as Phil Monk is a bit of a conspiracy nerd, I suppose, putting it politely. I mean, not in the most polite manners, like, I don't know if people take offense to that, but I'm sure he loves his conspiracies. He's going to be chatting all things conspiracies with Mackie later on over on the High and Homegrown podcast. But with me, Phil Monk, we just had a chat all about cannabis activism in the UK, and what's to be expected there a little bit next year. Also, another activist over there in the UK come up as part of our discussions too. Somebody we've been chatting about recently, a guy by the name of Outlaw. So yes, Outlaw did come up as part of the discussion there as well. Partly because I suppose Outlaw brought up Phil Monk in a conversation that we were having there in the back and forth on Twitter. Outlaw had told me, you know, that apparently Phil Monk had made false representations there as to the Outlaw's work, claiming that that Phil Monk was saying that Outlaw was using his arguments in his legal battle or whatever, which apparently is not the case according to Outlaw. But according to Phil Monk chatting with him, it's like, yeah, well, we were chatting, and he did give Outlaw permission to use whatever he wanted from We the Undersigned, and kind of Phil believes that there is bits in there, and he doesn't want credit for it. He's just happy that it's being used, and that he just wants to do whatever he can to help fuel the drive towards this change that we're all fighting for, you know. So he was happy to be working with Outlaw and stuff like that. But then apparently there was some journalist out there. You might have recalled an article that was released there last year sometime, from I can't remember the name of the website, but it was something Hound. I think Phil mentions it in the interview. But it was alluding to the fact that there was 3 prominent groups or campaigners, you know, coming together under the one kind of umbrella now, and that was Outlaw, We the Undersigned, and Seed Our Future. That these 3 entities were going to be working together to kind of fight for cannabis legalisation. But apparently that article was a bit premature, as there was no agreement there apparently to be working together, at least not from Outlaw's side, as we, the Undersigned and See Their Future, were already working together. They were trying to bring Outlaw in, as he was doing a good campaign there with the marketing side of it, getting a lot of attention to his to himself and to his own campaign. So yeah, whatever happened there was a breakdown in communications with themselves, and they've since ceased kind of communications, I would believe. I'm not too sure now what the story is there. Phil doesn't either. He's hopeful that, you know, Outlaw is going to come through and he is going to launch this judicial review and stuff like that there next year. But yeah, that was a small part of the discussion there. So hopefully January next year we will see something that will prove me wrong from Outlaw, and I look forward to it. But I'm not holding my breath. John Finnegan saying that Outlaw is a lion. Beep. Oh. yes. There is that skepticism. It's growing stronger by the day out there within the community, and like I feel bad for being, you know, kind of throwing fuel to the fire there a little bit. But I just don't want to see, as I was saying to kind of fill in this interview as well, that I don't want to see the community being misled by anyone kind of claiming to be a messiah. But he's just not more than just a false idol there to kind of deceive people and take the wind away from the sails of the true campaigners like Phil Monk, like Steve and Guy, and the others out there as well, Trev, across the UK. Daily Talker says, do you think we get away with starting a new nation within the Republic of Ireland? I wonder how it could be done. Well, guys, all you got to do is get down to Cork, right? And we get a load of us, and we're just going to take over Cork, and we get a Cork to leave Ireland, and we have like the country of Cork. Be the best country ever, by. There'll be no genders. We'll all just be boys. All right, boy? All right, boy. That's right, boy. But yeah, it's possible, all right? Like, we are the rebel county as well, after all, boy. Yes, bye. Barry Fields says, they say girl as well. Do they, girl? Yeah, I suppose the girls kind of do, but I know a few girls who like just love to call everybody boy as well, like, you know. And this one particular girl, you know, shout out to Angel, she used to answer the phone above there in Donatello's in Mayfield back when I used to work there, and she's like, all right, Donatello's, boy. Yeah, what can I get you, boy? And it could be a woman on the other end of the phone or something. Love it. Proper characters here in Cork, boy. Yeah. Alright, I'll stop saying boy. I am just overdoing it now. I was just taking the piss. Mr. Always says, they did something like that in Copenhagen, Talker, called Christiana. I was there for months, kind of changed recently. Were you there for months? Nice. I'd love to fucking hear more about that the next time we catch up. There was our Mr. Always, Mr. was. But yeah, I'd like to hear a bit more about that. I heard that place did get it broke up there and stuff like that. At times there was kind of raids that happened, but yeah, it was kind of a bit of a hippie paradise, for lack of a better term. Pods for 420. Conspiracy theories are just spoiler alerts. Yeah, some people saying, you know, that those conspiracy theories there from last year are kind of should be looked at as fortune telling now at this stage. Because a lot of it's come fucking true, you know what I mean? Booster campaign, you know? And they're boosting the booster campaign at the moment, like, and it won't be long more before they're going to be pushing jab number 4 on people, you know? And I'll say no more before the stream gets shut down, because censorship these days, you can't be raising their awareness about that stuff. We'll stick to the cannabis. Billy Bonds, aren't we all a bit conspiracy nerds? Many seem to not to be so far from the truth either. No, they don't, you know? They don't at all. Except flat earth. that one's a bit flat. Hey. No substance. John Finnegan Outlaw. Yeah, we read that one actually, John. Alright, me boys in blue with some scatness. Billy Bonds, Outlaw wouldn't do anything with we the Undersigned or See the Future, as he is a glory-seeking wanker, in my opinion. He did take the Undersigned information for himself also. Well, you know, according to Phil, he had full permission there to use it, and there wasn't anything required of him to give credit to the guys, I suppose. So yeah, it kind of feeds into your first claim there about him, you know, that he is maybe a bit of a glory-seeking wanker. do a poll there about thoughts on outlaw, and that's coming in from DB Woodcraft. There we go. So, thoughts on outlaw. New poll just launched there as requested by DB Woodcraft, I believe. Just got that in. And he's 3 minutes behind. That's all right, DB. Don't panic. I'm probably a few minutes behind on the comments there anyway. But thoughts on outlaw in the comments over there on YouTube if you'd like to cast your vote. 25 of you watching right now. Yeah, bye. Nah, bye. Or don't know, bye. So for anybody who doesn't understand Cork slang, BAI is bye. Do you know what I mean? It's not boy, it's bye. All right, bye. No poll on Cork independence. Do a poll on Cork independence. We'll do that one later on. We'll do a special stream for that one. Rasher is as proud Dubliner of Cork legalised. I'd be down in the morning with an accent and everything. And you'll be more than welcome, Rashers, that have a passport at the ready for you. The Republic of Cork, here we come. Pods for 420 Schmerton, don't mention the pandemic. Ryan Agadas, no vax here, lol, F the government. Yeah, I have a bit of skepticism, John. Elsewhere where there's skepticism as well is around this vaccination rate. The government claimed 95% of people vaccinated, but recently when people were like not allowed to go to gyms as a result of the vaccination, apparently like there's like as high as 40% drop off from some gyms. That's quite high, you know, given that only 5% of people are unvaccinated. But then potentially, you know, just to back that up, maybe there is some people out there who like don't support gyms who are going to enforce this segregation within our community. I think, you know, that is, you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem now at this stage, and this is a problem at the moment, this segregation that's going on with this fucking passport stuff. So if you've got one and you're using one, you know, it's like, I don't have any like real hard feelings towards you, but you're just enabling this kind of behaviour to go on and to facilitate this segregation. Whatever your views are about the vaccine and stuff, you know, it's just like we shouldn't be infringing on a person's right of choice on what is, you know, it's a medical kind of procedure. It's an injection into your body, and it's irreversible too, and we don't know enough about it yet. And for people like for me at the moment, I'm not allowed to bring my kids to the cinema and places like this. I can't even bring them to the swimming pool now, and that's effed up. But I don't really want to go off too much in that because that's not the fight involved in this show. But again, just a little crossover there. There is an infringement on our personal freedoms, and I just have to voice my opinion on that then as well, you know. But I'm not going to ram it down your throat, guys. You know, if as I say, I respect people's right to go out there and use their passport to go in and have their meal and enjoy their life and stuff. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you signed up for. It's why you allowed yourself to get jabbed up for a lot of the part. I know a lot of people who've done it just to be able to get back on with life. I want to be able to go to the nightclub with my boyfriend, or to go for a meal with my girlfriend, you know, something like that, you know. Scatness I just saw the double vax rate at 82.5%. Man, I've been hearing it being claimed up as high as like 95%, but look, don't want to spend too much time on that. As it is something, maybe Mackie and fucking Phil Monk, they're definitely going to have a good old crack at this later on, because there is some big fucking conspiracy around this whole thing, and I got serious. Wait, I got a picture for this actually. I got a picture for this. One second, it's kind of worth the wait, maybe. Go to me logo. This is from the other night. The the chat with the lads. This photo's way too big again. Boom, there we go. Skeptical hippo eyes. Martin's World, skeptical hippo eyes. Not just a stoned hippopotamus, but an incredibly skeptical hippopotamus too. Sorry, hide that image. Hopefully that Phil Monkey our interview has been uploaded there to the stream. We'll be flicking over to that there shortly. I'll be running off doing some errands, bringing Alexis to our extracurriculars and a few other bits as well. The interview, guys, is just over an hour and a half long. So that will get us through to about 6:30 this evening. So that'll give you some time to go get refreshed and relax and stuff before Phil Monk is back in front of you again with the guys over on High and Homegrown this evening for some in-depth conspiracy theory discussions or possible future predictions for the planet. So let's blaze on up, guys. Little 420 civil disobedience there before we flick over to the interview in a bit. I'll get through one or two more comments there as well, guys. So get them in there if you want me to read them out. Yeah, interesting. Paul Ryan making an interesting observation there in the comments too. And it's your boy Oisin. Nice one for the subscription there, Oisin. But Paul Ryan making an observation in the comments saying a higher percentage of Eastern Europeans aren't vaccinated, and they're regular gym users. So surely that has something to do with the gym memberships dropping. Very observant observation there, Ryan, man. And yeah, I definitely wouldn't disagree with you there. I think that's a very valid observation to make. I definitely would say that the East European guys definitely have a bit more of a tendency to go to the gym than some of our Irish counterparts. But yeah, that could certainly have something to do with it. And it's your boy Oisin says Australia have banned the unvax from doing anything, even buying food apparently. Wasn't that New Zealand was saying like no vax, no job, no jab, no job? That's scary, guys. Honestly, scary stuff, like. Yeah, the Aussie's gone mental. But fingers crossed, you know, my daughter Alexis is going to be visiting my sister over there in February. And apparently they're going to be opening up the borders there of Australia come the start of February. So fingers crossed that remains the case over there and this fucking Omicron stuff isn't going to interfere with that. That'll be devastating for herself as she's been looking forward to it for a number of months now. And yeah, hopefully maybe we might be able to get over there myself in time to come too. But yeah, fingers crossed they get over there. Scatna saying, colleague told me of Poland today though, they got 600 people dying each day at the moment. Scary stuff, man. Scary stuff. This is a really good podcast dropped recently by Joe Rogan featuring a doctor by the name, I can't remember his full name, something McCallum. Cullum, something Max, something anyway to see. But really great podcast. All like he really went in depth about the whole vaccine stuff and about pre-treatment as well. More importantly, great podcast to check out if you don't regularly listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, and if you're interested in learning a little bit about the vaccine from a person with incredible credentials, a well publicized researcher, like more probably the most publicized person for researching COVID at the moment, and gave testimony in this in the Senate in the US twice. Great interview, really well worth checking it out. So yeah, make sure you check that one out. But don't go anywhere. Make sure you stay here for the monk. Daily Hawker, it's this much. Oh wait, he says just home now and jumping in the shower. Just wanted to make sure you all know how much love I have for the community and I butchered that. How much love I have for the show and our community, and it's this much, and it's like not that much. It's like this much. It's like so big I can't even fit it on the screen. Like, you know, it's taken up a couple of lines in the comments. Love it. And yes, likewise back at you guys. I have so much love for the audience that is out there, guys. You're great. Barry Fields, and how you think of us all in the shower talk? No lads, no. Getting steamy there in the chat. Right, so guys, I will get you over there to Phil Monk. So I will be back for a little debrief after this interview finishes. So enjoy, and we do have, as I say, one or two little interruptions there from little baby Elijah Daniel. But I made the edits. I shortened the interruptions at one stage there. Phil was actually waiting like 8 minutes while I changed the nappy. So much appreciation there to Phil, an incredible guest. Links in the description there on YouTube, guys, but it is WTUHQ.org, weedy undersigned HQ.org, WTUHQ.org, and that's where you'll find Phil Monk's website, We the Undersigned. Also mentioned there was factcards.co.uk, so check out those websites too. So again, guys, without waffling on any much more, I'll give you Phil Monk. Hopefully the video's lined up nice. Oh no, did it work? Phil Monk, thanks very much for taking time out of your day and to come have a chat with me about your activism, cannabis in the UK, and what's coming up next over there as well. On it. So, Phil, thanks very much. And if you wouldn't mind, just to give a run through of the many groups that you're involved with, or the campaigns that you're involved with, because I'm sure you've been involved with many over the years.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I started off just supporting other people's campaigns. I supported the UPA and the UK CSC and Normal, and I was just, a person in their groups commenting, things like that. And that's how I started in 2014 when I found out that there were campaigns for cannabis, specifically for medical purposes, that focused. Over the years, that support has changed from different groups to groups, as different groups have, well, as I've learned more about them, I suppose, and then decided that they weren't necessarily representing the aims of the vision that I had for the future of reform. And some have also closed, fizzled out and burnt out like various campaign groups do, which I can reflect to quite deeply. So, I mean, currently I'm in a bit of a hiatus at the minute, a bit of a state of limbo in many ways. I've been, for the last few years, I've been giving all of my time for We the Undersigned Have a Human Sovereign Right to Cannabis, WTUHQ.org, if anybody wants to check out the website. I basically started that in 2018, I believe it was, March 2018, because I feel that the prohibition of cannabis is an infringement of fundamental human rights. We have fundamental human rights, the freedom of consciousness, the practice of free beliefs and practices, the freedom of association, the expression of identity, all these things that the state should not infringe upon unless, very specific caveat of law, unless it's to protect public health, which reflects the current situation, to protect the moral of society and the national interest, national security. They're the only circumstances in which the state can infringe our inalienable fundamental human rights as enshrined in law by the European Court of Human Rights and also by the UK courts and also the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. So there's a UK law, human rights law, 1984, I think it was. Was it 84? No, I'm not too sure on that year. And then we have the EU and the UN Declaration of Human Rights. All of those should apply to all humans around the world, regardless of which state or territory they live in.
So,
they're
for example, you can't even give them up. Like, they're inalienable. You're supposed to have them.
Yeah, they're inalienable. It doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what government or state you live under. They're your rights, unless you're causing harm to others, unless you're a threat to national security or the morale of society. The morals of society. So for cannabis, for example, it's under the false pretense that cannabis is harmful to human health and causes psychosis that it was prohibited. It's under that false pretense, the false assertion that it's a Schedule I drug that warrants Class B sentencing. That's the premise upon which they prosecute and destroy our lives with criminal records and put us in prison, right? Now, that is a lie.
Yeah, no,
cannabis is not a Schedule I subject, Schedule I drug. It doesn't meet the status, doesn't warrant Class B sentence. We know it, you know it, they know it. They've known it for years. They've just been burying it and lying and misrepresenting the facts just so their pet pharmaceutical company, GW Pharmaceuticals, that had at that point I last saw developed 138 cannabis-related patents, could make these medical cannabis preparations that they can sell for shit tons of money, while they keep
It's going to grab
natural
us
herbal cannabis prohibited.
1 sec, sorry.
Yeah, man. Very should be.
Hey to Phil.
Hey, little
Hey, Phil.
fella.
You really wanted to come on the camera, so.
Oh, bless him, man. Oh, good, man. Oh, good. Oh, he's all good.
Oh, man. Let's stick that in there. Come on. Oh, there we go, my little man. There we go. He'll throw it off there now again. He just wanted a bit of body contact and be picked up.
Yeah, of course. Don't we all?
Yeah. But just to get back to what you were saying, I'd wholeheartedly agree with you there in your position as well. Oops, Dak. Oh, mister. Well, that the prohibition of cannabis, it definitely is a violation of our human rights. Like that, the fact that like cannabis, the law itself, like is going to take me away from this little guy and stop me from doing this, like the being a father, the being able to sit down here and to raise my kid, all because I decided that this plant substance that I used one time, I enjoyed it and I found it beneficial. It's like the government don't have a right to deny me this opportunity, to deny him that opportunity as well, all because of what? A supposed crime. That's again, you know, you think of public interest, public health. In what world, what crazy world is it in the public's interest for me to be taken away from my duty as a dad because of using a substance which would have brought no harm to any of us? It would bring little to no harm to me. Like the only real harm it brings to me possibly is my method of consumption, combustion. You know, but again, that's a job for the regulators to educate consumers to reduce harms. So again, if we wanted to talk about public health, actually, again, all the arrows are pointing towards regulation, ending prohibition as being the greatest way to achieve it. And like yourself, I'm setting out on challenging the laws more directly here. I've been presenting myself all across this year to our authorities with cannabis plants, and I have a couple of cases now that are generated from those actions. So I look forward to kind of my opportunity to go into court and to kind of stand up that, look, I engaged in this form of civil disobedience, to stand up for what you quite rightly pointed out as well. And I completely agree with you that the prohibition of cannabis is violating not one, not two, but many of our fundamental human rights. Right, and privacy, all of these, like
it's violating them under the false premise of protecting public health.
Yeah, 100%. Because again, if we look at cannabis currently, it's a prescribed medicine. What's a Schedule 1 drug? Something with little to no.
It fits into Schedule 1, 2, and 4 currently.
Yeah, which is absolutely appalling. And we looked in a current situation, the pandemic, and I don't want to go into all of that, but we're being told to listen to the experts, you know, the World Health Organization and all that they said. Before this pandemic started, the World Health Organization made several recommendations around cannabis, and some of them included removing it from the Schedule 4 or Schedule 1 and to maybe scheduling it in a much lower. I think it should be descheduled altogether. But the World Health Organization said that, you know, no, it doesn't fit in these schedules. You need to reduce this so that researchers and patients alike can get access to this, because it's not Schedule 1. It has therapeutic value. It doesn't have this high potential for abuse that they say it does. So it is built on a foundation of lies.
And that there is the basis that no prosecution now has any foundation or substance, and they're all spurious prosecutions. What's it called? Vexatious litigation, I think, would be the term in legal terms, because there is no substance to the law. The science itself is saying it's not. So if they're putting people in prison or prosecuting them on the basis of it's protecting them from harm, well, hold on, it's not a harmful substance, so therefore your law's unfounded, unjustified, and disproportionate, and infringes fundamental human rights. And that's what I would encourage everyone to do: to make no plea, not make any guilty plea, and to say it infringes fundamental human rights, disproportionate, and based on all the information that myself and Guy Coxall, and not just myself and Guy Coxall, I mean, there's like a whole string, there's decades of researchers, a list. Well, if anyone looks on the Amazon and looks for the fight for rights and the freedom of choice, that's the WTU book. Basically, as I was saying a moment ago, I felt the prohibition of cannabis infringes our fundamental human rights. In 2018, I decided to set out and find a solicitor to make a case because I'd found loads of publicly available information that proved that the government had known since 1998 that cannabis isn't harmful, it's highly therapeutic, generally safe, and people shouldn't be prosecuted for using it. But they chose to sit on that information, put it in the Library of Science, and set the author of that paper up as the medical director of GW Pharmaceuticals. So that's over 21 years of false prosecutions that need addressing urgently. My brother was one of those prosecutions. He was put in prison for his cannabis use, became a heroin addict, and is now dead. That is the very, very short version of my brother's traumatic life, destroyed by prohibition laws. And that's why, like, I look at your little boy there, everything I've done has been for your boy, you know, my boy, for everyone's child, because no one's child, no one should be prosecuted for choosing this generally mostly benign, safe and therapeutic and nutritional herb that is a non-toxic recreational pastime. It encourages creativity, it enhances spirituality and connection with one another and the planet, and as a sustainable industrial resource, it's the solution to the catastrophe that the globalists have taken us to. So, you know, to me, cannabis is the answer to so many things. It took over a year to find a solicitor, found a solicitor, spent another 2 years building a body of evidence, which is now published in that book, as I just mentioned, that people can purchase to try and use as a defense for themselves. Unfortunately, we, the Undersigned, we were unsuccessful in raising enough money to go to the Supreme Court.
How much was needed for that, if I don't mind asking?
Good question. The barrister that I first found said for the WTU legal fees to go to Supreme Court could cost between £50,000 and £150,000 for our fees alone.
What? How in the hell is a citizen supposed to get justice in a system?
You can't get justice
like
unless
that?
you're wealthy. You can't get healthcare unless you're wealthy. You can't get knowledge unless you're wealthy.
That is appalling. Like, you know,
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse because not only did we need to raise that much money, but we also needed to be able to prove to the court that we had security of costs, that in the event of losing against the government, that we could cover their fees, because the loser covers the fees. Now, the barrister pointed out that the government could draw upon an army of QCs and experts at £650 an hour, and their costs could be astronomical, double hours or more. So we're looking between £300,000 and £500,000 potentially. He said we could ask them for an estimate and cap them to their estimate. But unfortunately, in the 3 years of building the evidence and trying to raise money, as a group, WTU, we didn't even manage to raise. Well, we had two fundraisers. The first one was to get the initial barrister advice, and then the second one was to try and go to court. So we raised just under 9,000 for the first bit of barrister advice, and we've now got just around 7,000 in the legal fund. So in other words,
far from what is needed, like.
Yeah, it's just nothing. Like, I've flogged myself to death for years, going around the country, attending events, raffling off, trying to get people to support, trying to get corporate sponsorship and donors. Because, you know, the way I see it, if WTU was successful and had the legislation amended so that everyone had the right to grow or to go to a dispensary and get what they wanted, the industry itself could only bloom. Right now, the hydroponic, the seeds, the head industry, it's all bound by this cage of legislation that's based on lies that infringes our rights. So if we could get rid of that legislation, the industries could fully bloom and grow to their full potential. But unfortunately, I haven't managed to attract the corporate sponsorship to get such legislation change achieved. And also, I don't mind, just keep nursing him, don't worry at all, mate.
I listen
to make
away
it
anyway.
worse, like, if we'd got to court, just to the nature of the British legal system, even if we'd got to court, and even if the judge had ruled in our favour and agreed that the Misuse of Drugs Act infringed fundamental human rights, that wouldn't itself compel the government to change the law. All it could do is make it very difficult for them to enforce the law, and for those in the know to use that as a defence.
Jesus, that's crazy. Like, so you could go to all that expense and still not even be able to set a precedent at the end of it all.
No, the only way you can really set the precedent is to try by a jury. But judges try to stop the evidence being heard by the jury because, well, Well, I suspect it may be due to the 60% pay rise they received a couple of years ago, but they tend to go on the government side rather than the people.
The juries do.
No, the judges.
Oh, the judges. Yeah, of course.
Judges. Yeah. We need to
But
get
they're not
before a
going to bite the
jury.
hand that feeds them, really, are they?
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. So by jury is the best bet. And there's, half a dozen people using Seed Our Future and WTU information that we've curated in the hope of helping people challenge.
Yeah, and has anybody been successful with those challenges yet, or is there?
It depends on how you measure success.
Yeah.
There's one gentleman. It was a traffic offence. He was driving, and he pulled him over and found a nub of a joint in the back of his car. He wasn't smoking or anything, and they tried to do him for cannabis driving offences, but he had a prescription. But because they found evidence of combustion, they said he'd misused his prescription, therefore he didn't have the right to use that as a defence. So they wanted to prosecute him, and the CPS wanted to take his licence, which would have been catastrophic to his life. He came to myself, he came to Guy, he came to many, many people, and different people offered what advice and guidance as they could. And he, in the end, through circumstance, had to stand in his own sovereign power and defend himself in the courts. And he was found not guilty, which I take that as a success. Another lady, similar circumstances.
I'm just going to drop it in 1 second.
Yeah.
He's just getting a little restless.
You're right, mate.
Oh, go there, my little man. Oh, man, you little weasel.
Yeah, it's no dramas. Father first, isn't it? That's your most important. That's your most important job in the world, right in your arms there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of why I don't really have a problem with having him on here. He's been on other shows that I do, the 420 News as well, because I think it's important to highlight that fact. Like the cannabis thing, it's only actually a small part of my life. Like the biggest part of my life are my kids and my family and like the other things that I do within my life. Whereas people might see it from what I do, my activism, my campaigning, that like, oh, this guy is all about cannabis. But it's like, no, that's the thing that affects my life the most. But the most important thing in my life actually is my kids and my family. So it's just important that people kind of get to see that through the show then as well. So yeah.
You're doing it so you can not be at risk of being taken from your kids and your family for your health choices, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah.
Going back to the successes, so yeah, this other lady, she's managed to go from magistrate court. She didn't know, and at the time it's been learned that she should have immediately asked for Crown Court because she can't challenge the legislation at magistrate. So she should have immediately asked to go to Crown, but they have allowed her to go to appeal at Crown Court because they felt she didn't get a fair trial. And then at Crown Court, the judge said, oh, you cannabis people should just go to the government. So that indicated his prejudice, which shows that you can't have a fair trial from him. Yeah. So now they're appealing him.
That's Selena, is that right?
Yes, I was omitting any names for confidentiality.
Apologies, no, I was just chatting with her yesterday. I just dropped the interview and all, but she
you're
told me
right
that exact story.
Yeah, I mean, I love. I mean, I know, and maybe because I'm a little guy myself, like I'm not very big in stature, am I? Neither Selena. Selena's quite small in stature, and seeing a small person take on a big bully really empowers my soul. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been bullied my whole life. I can't stand bullies, and that's why I stand against tyranny and against bullies. No matter if they can stamp on my head and kill me, I'm still going to stand against the motherfuckers.
We have a lot in common there, Phil. Like because I think myself, my life was shaped by being bullied in my earlier years, and then when I was 17, when I first got caught with a bit of cannabis, I couldn't help but see the authorities as nothing but the bullies that I faced when I was younger. And it was just, right, I'm going to stand up for myself in this situation. And here I am, all these years later, still standing up to these fucking bullies. Like, but it's great that you mentioned Selena, because I had a great chat with her yesterday, but she sounds like she has a great case to be argued there that could set precedent, like not for everybody, but for people who use cannabis for medicinal reasons. Which is incredibly important. Like in Ireland, we don't.
Well, it's even more narrow than that. Actually, it's not for people with medicinal reasons, but it's for people with a prescription.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got a prescription, it wouldn't help you at all. But if you had a prescription, it would help you.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more narrow than like I use it for medical, but I won't get a prescription. I refuse to be exploited, and I refuse to, just for that piece of protection, I won't do it. Matter of principle. So no judgment on those that do, because everyone's got their own path to take. So I don't judge anyone for what their decision is. But for me, I just can't do it, like, you know. So I can, under her circumstances, although, you know, it's not necessarily the WTU information specifically, it's partly, and I've given her what advice and guidance I've been able, if I were in your shoes, this is what I would do type scenario. I know Guy's been helping her massively of Seed Our Future. Check out seedourfuture.co.uk if you aren't aware of them, listeners. They're another group that are doing great things, that basically, we're not trying to get this mythological medical cannabis, because it doesn't exist, right? That's a myth. It's what you call a false binary paradigm. And they've created this term, linguistic term, words of recreational and medicinal, to create a division between those who consume cannabis for whatever purpose. They're then given society the belief that recreational cannabis use is immoral and dangerous, but the use of cannabis, or medical cannabis, is safe so long as it's under a guided GMC specialist, which is all nonsense and bunkum, because they're selling Moby Dick, which is a recreational variety of cannabis. They're selling that for headaches and migraines from clinics. They're selling green crack. They're selling Jack Herer, things that I cultivate at home, that they'd put me in prison for 14 years. Well, arguably, they say at maximum sentence, they threaten me with 14 years. But hold on a minute. Why am I a criminal cultivating recreational Schedule 1 drug Jack Herer, but they're scientists cultivating Schedule 2 medical cannabis? It's nonsense. It needs challenging at every step of the way by everyone and anyone.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I think this prohibition just takes away so much power from the individual, because it's not only an incredibly rewarding plant to grow, but it's a great introductory plant for people to kind of get to know what it is to grow something, you know. Because, you know, when they talk about a gateway drug around cannabis, I think the only gateway in it is if you start growing it, you're going to want to start to grow lettuce and spuds and tomatoes and other things. I think that's the only like real gateway to cannabis, is if you start growing it, you want to grow everything else.
I agree there. Like the act of cultivating cannabis for me has been so healing in itself. Taking responsibility for my health, autonomy of my health, not giving up my power to a doctor or a specialist or an expert that have nearly killed me about 4 times with their advice. So I think I'll listen to my own advice from now on, because I don't have faith in them. But it's interesting how, like, in science at school, they started trying to teach me about kelvins, a measurement of color temperature in light. They tried to teach me about all kinds of things that made no sense to me because they had no context. 20, 30 years later, when I started growing for myself, it's like, oh, that's what all that means. And now suddenly my chemistry, my physics, and my biology that made no sense now make loads of sense to me, because I've got a context in which to apply it. If I were to get a prescription from the clinics, it would cost approximately 12,700 a year just for the flowers. That doesn't involve any consultation costs for myself. That's at £5 a gram. I use about 7 grams a day in flowers, tinctures, vapes, all kinds of stuff. And it cost me about £2,000 a year to grow for myself. But, you know, it's just maddening. And what was the other thing I was going to say to you there that you mentioned? I can't remember that one last point. Something else that you were saying I was going to say, but I can't remember at the minute.
Sorry about that one.
That's it. Gateway. The gateway theory. That was it. The gateway theory has been utterly disproved. Again, that's in the WTU book, because we've referenced it to disprove the gateway theory. Alcohol, in fact, tobacco and alcohol would be the gateway drugs. Most 100%. People experience alcohol first, and then from alcohol they then experience other drugs. So it's been proven that alcohol would be the gateway drug. Alcohol,
just the effect of alcohol. Like, alcohol will lower your inhibitions, make you more at risk of using other drugs. That was my own first-hand experience. I would never have used cocaine had I not been drunk that night, because I have no interest in cocaine. It was just I was drunk and I was like, yeah, sure, what the hell, like, and I kind of like regret it. It was a good night, but I kind of regret it afterwards, like, because it's like not something I would have decided to do in a sober mind. So I definitely would say alcohol is more a gateway drug, but sure, we glorify that. It's okay to advertise that on social media where kids hang out and all of this, like at bus stops where kids get on the bloody buses to go to school. Like we have adverts here for whiskey and stuff like that on our bus stops.
Even deeper than that.
Yeah.
I volunteered at my daughter's primary school a few years ago because I was a literacy teacher. I used to teach Spanish, ESOL, literacy, and numeracy before I fell ill and became a campaigner. And I went to the school. In fact, it was a week before I started WTU. I never planned to start WTU. It was never a plan. It just kind of happened in one moment's anger at the telly because of Murray Gray, Alfie Dingley, and over in Ireland, what's his name, Billy Caldwell. The stories of those three boys in the news just made me violently angry against our government. They're lucky I'm disabled, otherwise I'd have been all over the roofs of Parliament protesting like a right crazy man. But I can't anymore, so I haven't been able to. But it's really interesting how the plight of those boys, which is they're a drop in the ocean for the suffering that this legislation's causing.
Yeah.
Even now, like you ask what's happening. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday. There was a debate in Parliament. It's been the last couple of days. Forgive me, I do lose track of
private members bill.
And again, it was filibustered by a handful of Tories once again, right? So that's the second time they've filibustered. So they've just condemned people to suffering and death because of their filibustering. But apart from that, and this is what's really not starting to annoy me, it's been annoying me for a very long time. Everyone keeps talking about medical cannabis, which, as I've discussed, doesn't exist. You've got cannabis for medical purposes. It's either cultivated well or not, under license or not, organically or not, but it's all just cannabis. And then you've got the situation of, my brain doesn't know, I wander over the place. Because it makes me so angry. See, I get all over the shop.
Yeah, and you've a lot of points to make around it because there's just so many.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I can't remember where I was going now. I was talking about the three boys and how it made me angry, which is why I started. I thought that's what made me think it's human rights. I'd thought it for a long time, but basically, that was it. The filibustered meeting. They're all talking about medical cannabis and on prescription and free on the NHS, but no one's talking about the very concrete harms of prosecution that are still occurring on a daily basis on the false premise that it's a Schedule 1 drug that warrants Class B sentencing. So that means that daily they are falsely prosecuting people. I mean, I agree, it should be on prescription. It is a priority. I should be able to get it on prescription, although I don't really want it on prescription. I'd like being able to provide for myself. But people that don't want to should be able to get it. But more importantly than that, more importantly than any prescription, they need to stop prosecuting people.
Yeah. Yeah, the prohibition,
first
like
and foremost.
the harms of prohibition, when they're having a talk about the harms of drugs, and they don't include the harms of prohibition around the drugs. It's like in the UK, you got a serious problem of like gang violence, especially around these county lines area. Like we keep seeing that in the media, like, it's like county line drug gangs, and that was a kind of a something that fueled the recent announcement there with Boris Johnson. He was like, we need to come down hard on these drug gangs, and the only way we're going to do it is by going after. He said like those 300,000 people who are engaged in illegal drug use, fueling these gangs. Like, we're going to come after you by taking away your passports and your license.
Well, as he takes cocaine or has taken cocaine previously, will he be forfeiting his driving license and passport as a gesture of leading the way and showing by example what cocaine use should do then? Because he is on public record for cocaine use. I mean, in fact, the toilets nearest his office have got evidence of cocaine use in. So are they going to start random drug testing in number 10 and Parliament, I wonder?
No, they've shown already like that they're above the laws. Even like last year when you
here's the interest.
Your family for Christmas.
The eyes of justice. The eyes of justice look in one way and they don't look at Westminster. And their party last year proves that.
Yeah, exactly. It just proves that. Like, and I would imagine, that if any of these politicians, should they have needed cannabis in the morning, they would be able to get it because they don't have any morals, they don't have any principles, so they'd easily just go down, and they've got a lot of money in their bank account too, so they could get their private prescription. They don't really care about the fact that there's people out there like yourself who don't want to be a part of that system, not only just because of the burdensome cost in it, but it's like the cannabis that I've seen come through that private prescription system, it's fucking appalling. It's like moldy, and like the
wow, interesting you say that. I believe that's by design. I am a conspiracy theorist, so I'm not. If I should wear a tin hat permanently, I should.
I chat with Mackie later all about
I'm gonna, just things I've talked about down the rabbit hole and things I've seen. I'm not saying it's what I believe or anything. It's just things I've read and seen about. But going to the flower situation,
Moldy
I
flower.
mean, they've basically got a bunch of white coats that know nothing about cannabis or horticulture, cultivating cannabis. Then they're putting it through this homogenization, standardization process, and then they're gamma radiating it to allegedly kill the bacteria. They've got no idea about curing, drying. They've got no idea about top, middle, and bottom bud. So they try and standardize it so all the buds are the same, which doesn't work. They destroy the terpene profile. So all the terpene profile benefits go out the window completely and utterly. All people get with the prescription is protection from prosecution. That's literally all they're getting. And they're getting substandard quality cannabis. And now I believe that is by design so that they can discredit flower as a medicine, and then they can make it so that it remains with oil. Or I don't know if you noticed the new vape pens, the THC vape pen that they're now prescribing, which I've done the vape pens. They're horrible. Give me a fat blunt any day. I can walk around with that hanging out my mouth, doing what I need to do. When I hurt and I go into full spasm, I can light it up. I can have a few tokes of my blunt. It goes out. I carry on. And then when I have a light and I can, you know what I mean? You can't do that with a Mighty or a Crafty or any of those vapes. You've got to vape it immediately, and it's ineffective, I think, compared to combustion. It's not as quick. Okay, like you said, the lungs, I am, granted, my lungs are suffering. I do admit my lungs are suffering, which is why I make my capsules, I make my tinctures, I make my balms, I make my butters. Again, it's education. But
it's not the worst thing you can do. There's other medications out there that come with that have costs with them, like steroids. They can reduce your bone density and stuff like that. And just okay. But it's like if I want to smoke my cannabis, it's no, you're grand, but no, I think like you're dead right, Matt. You're saying as a patient, you should be allowed to be able to make these choices because we already allow them to be made in other drugs.
There's people in the community who, and again, I'm avoiding names, who have the belief that if you smoke cannabis, it's not medical because smoking is harmful, which I'm not going to argue their belief. They're saying because of that method of consumption, it's got a negative effect, therefore it can't be medicinal. Well, look at the harm that opiates do to the body. Look at the harm that paracetamol does, ibuprofen, omeprazole. Look at the harms that they all did, tramadol, Zomorph, amitriptyline. They destroyed my body, but they're still called medicine. I took them orally and they damaged my organs, my liver, my kidneys, and my stomach lining, but that's medicine.
Yeah, no, just because they're approved, they went through the rigorous standards. But we all know, again, like the system is not set up to accommodate for something like cannabis, which is incredibly complex. Single compounds is what they like to be able to do. Whereas if you went back 100 years ago, it's like, no, pretty much your medicine cabinet was made up of these complex medicines. You know, if you had a toothache, you had some clove oil. And clove oil contains, again, a multitude of compounds. And it's just like, it's not this single thing. It's like we don't have any double-blind studies on clove oil. Well, at least not to the best of my knowledge, but we do know that it is effective, and we don't go and say, oh, well, there's no evidence supporting this because there's no double-blind randomized controlled studies on it. It's like, no, we've known. My nanny told me, and I trust my nanny.
Well, I noticed in the background of your view, I can see what look to be at least 2 religious buildings, if not maybe potentially a third in the background on the fire hill with a light on the top. I would argue that science is becoming fast the new religion, and experts the new clergymen, and do not dare question the experts, and do not dare question the science. As to which science and which experts you listen to, that is a different matter all over. Now, you know, with cannabis, you'll find as much science saying it's bad for you as you will saying it's good for you, because different organizations have paid off for different agendas. It's interesting you mentioned the WHO, the World Health Organization. They declared that alcohol, there is no safe amount of alcohol to consume. Any amount of alcohol is toxic and poisonous to the human body. In fact, it's 114 times more toxic to human health than cannabis. So why are we being prosecuted if we choose cannabis instead of that poisonous recreational drug alcohol?
And to put on the tinfoil hat for a sec, it's like, is it because of the harms, or is it because of the benefits that cannabis is actually?
Mate. I think they don't want people thinking for themselves.
Well, there is that. Like maybe that's the real threat that there is to public, the society. It's that people will start thinking for themselves and maybe start realizing, hey, come here, these guys in government don't have our best interest at heart, you know?
No, they don't.
So
a lot of people can't accept the fact. I've come to accept it in the last 7 years of campaigning. Our government are trying to kill us off. It's a simple fact, in my opinion. Not many people are comfortable to accept that. Look at the fluoridation of water as one. If they really cared about people's dental health, they'd let everyone have free dental care without all these high costs. They wouldn't be putting mercury in my mouth or anyone else's mouth like they have done. So, you know, it's all a pretense, if you ask me. Mate.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. In a lot of ways, I definitely don't think that the governments have been looking out for us. That maybe initially that they might have, like, I'm not too sure about the UK, but in Ireland, like, we've a young enough country, so our original government would have been of the people. You know, they would have been people who are putting their life on the line for their country, for their people.
Mhm.
And therefore, you know, they had like the right interests of the people in when they got into power. But then slowly over time, you know, that you were electing in their family members or their friends and stuff like that. Next, it's just like the only people in
Eroded.
there are just only interested in remaining in power, having power, and that's it. Like it's like
Totally.
the government have slowly but surely over time just gone away from their original mission, which was being for the people, of the people, for the people.
Yeah.
To now being, you know, of the
They're
corporate
there for the
for the
corporations
corporate.
now, it seems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way I'd see it as well. You know.
I mean, they are a corporation in the first instance. That shouldn't be forgotten. It is a corporation. In fact, most MPs become like Matt Hancock Limited, for example, and they act in their business entity, not their human entity. And that's what gives them escape from legal liability for their actions. So, yeah, it's very interesting, their methods of manipulating the law to protect themselves whilst shafting everybody else, it seems.
And on the law, just for yourself, have you been in court? I suppose you've obviously been in court, but what is
No.
it? You've not been in court.
No, would you believe it? I mean, I've been telling the truth about me using and growing cannabis for years, right? I've written to my local police. I've written to all of Parliament. I've had the social services in my house. I've had the council in my house doing health assessments because I need carers to support me day to day.
Yeah.
And when they've said to me, how do you manage your pain, Mr. Monk? I say, well, I cultivate cannabis. I make balms and tinctures and suppositories, and I smoke it and I vape it and I eat it. And they were like, oh, wow. And then I've really, really informed them. I've put them onto all the information on my websites and everything. I've actually been a bit of a grow geek, and I've calculated how much VAT I've paid into the treasuries with all of my cultivation equipment. And I've also calculated how much my annual costs are for water, electricity, soil and nutrients. And I've supplied that all to my council. And said, take that into your account, because what it was in the financial assessment, they asked for receipts for medication not provided by the NHS.
Yeah.
So I phoned them up. I said, you do realise cannabis dealers don't give receipts? I said, but as it happens, I grow my own and I've just done all this, and I just flooded them with the information. They've actually approved my funding twice now to pay for the 10 hours care that I need to help me have an adequate quality of life. Okay. And they've actually, they even say like, what?
Did he entertain the receipts for like your growth?
Well, I don't have receipts. I gave them all my bank statements that shows me purchasing of my equipment.
Yeah.
And I gave them, like, Scottish Power have put me on special measures because if there's a power cut, my plants are essential for my health and well-being. So is my fridge. So they'll come out and get me put on emergency electric as soon as possible. Because I told Scottish Power the truth of what I'm doing as well. You see, I won't lie to anyone. Standing my truth everywhere I go. And you know, when I wrote to our local police, in fact, I wrote to every police force in the country asking for an amnesty, that they would stop prosecuting people who use cannabis based on all the information that myself and other people had put together. Yeah. And then I wrote to my own local police and said, I'm providing for myself that which the law allows, but the NHS denies, and I'm too poor to purchase from a private clinic. Are you going to come and arrest me for being too poor? And they said they have to enforce the law without fear or favour. So I wrote back and said, I'd like to report the Home Office for Fraud, Conspiracy and Terrorism. Here's all the information to support it. Come back to me when you finished your investigations. And I've just been left in peace.
That's so funny. Like, you use what they kind of use against you back at them. It's like, oh, well, you have to uphold the law. Well, here we go. Here's like the Home Office. They're
under fraud, conspiracy and terrorism legislation, the government is breaking the law.
Yeah, no, I like that move. Fair play, Phil, and you know, touch freaking wood here that you continue to be left alone. But not only that, I really hope that people out there get inspired. You know, just to take control, you know, just take back that control over their own lives. You know, like to grow their own cannabis or grow cannabis for their loved ones, for their friends. You know, if they need it for medical reasons, and even if you don't need it for that medical reasons, if you're a consumer of cannabis, you know, just take that power back, because you don't want to be supporting some of these criminal gangs that are out there, because you just don't know.
When I sowed my first seed in 2014, I wrote to the then Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, health minister, leader of the opposition, justice minister, my local minister, told them all I was cultivating cannabis, told them about my medical conditions, which really should be irrelevant, told them about my human rights, and told them the reason I was doing it was because it's the only safe, moral, and ethical way to obtain cannabis in an illegal market.
Yeah.
And until they regulate the market, it's the only moral way to do it. Because, like you say, unless you go to a cannabis club about now, you don't know if it's got some, Ukrainian grow slaves that have been imported and made to live there. You know what I mean? My conscience can't have anything to do with that.
No, I see.
So on that basis, I had to sow my own seeds. Well, as Outlaw says, overgrow the government, isn't it? If everyone were to do it and stand in their sovereign power, and like he says as well, accept nothing, challenge everything. And if everyone did that, accept nothing, challenge everything, say no plea, not guilty based on the evidence of WTU, Seed Our Future, and Outlaw, present that information in your defence, and then say, how can you prosecute me on this basis, Your Honour?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's your advice to people? So if a person gets caught with cannabis, the first thing they should do with the cops, like what would your advice be to a person in that situation?
Always remain calm,
yeah,
polite, and civilized.
Yeah.
Even if they are trying to provoke you to anger.
Okay. Well, I was asking Outlaw that question. He said to tell him that your cannabis is not illegal.
Well, technically cannabis isn't illegal. He's right. Cannabis, it's the possession of cannabis without a license that's technically illegal.
Possession of cannabis without a license.
Yeah, because under the legislation of the Misuse of Drugs Act, it comes down. In fact, consumption is not a crime.
Yeah, that's right.
Cannabis cannot be illegal because it is an inert object that laws cannot control. Laws control, punish, and profit from people, not plants. So it is the unlicensed actions of possession, cultivation, preparation, and distribution that are illegal offences.
Okay.
So yeah, cannabis isn't illegal, but that person hasn't got a license to possess it. So as far as the officer is aware, they are committing an offence. Mm-hmm. However, if the officer did their due diligence and did the research surrounding cannabis, or read the information at www.factcard.co.uk, which is the culmination of the work of myself, Guy Coxall, Craig, Colin Craig, Trev Coleman, Skipper Harrison, and millions of bloody activists, researchers, and campaign. I can't remember their names, and I feel like I'm a bit guilty, like not remembering their names. But go to factcard.co.uk, look on the information there. You're not obliged to give them your name. You're not obliged to give them any information whatsoever. I would first off say, are you detaining me? And, if they say no, I'd turn around and walk away.
Yeah. So...
if they say we've had reports of suspicion of a person, I want to hear that description, please. I want to hear that description to see that it matches my description, officer. Not to hear them tell it. I want to see the evidence of that description, not their verbal reiteration of the description. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, the first time I would have heard something like that would have been from an ex-American cop. He has a YouTube channel. Can't remember what it was. It's so many years ago now since I seen it. But he says that pretty much if the cops pull you in or if you get stopped by them, that the first thing you should always ask them is, am I under arrest or am I free to go? And if you're not under arrest, then you must be free to go. Yes, because you're, as you kind of say, is like if there's no crime committed, you're not legally obliged. If a cop pulls you in at the side of the road, you can show them your license, show them your tax
insurance. That's the only time you are obliged. If you're in a vehicle and driving and they pull you over, you are obliged to present your license to them.
There you go. And nothing else after that. Then you don't have to entertain them at any point. Then, like even for the purpose of a stop and search, you can remove your consent. You don't have to do that. And then the guards or the police in this case, they have to arrest you for in that case. And then you've got a paper trail that will exist because if the cops search you, they don't have to keep record of that. You don't get any receipt of that certain search. So you have to make them arrest you for refusing to search. And then if they find nothing in your car, you get a receipt of that. And next time they do that again, just be like, come here, you going to keep harassing me like this? I have a receipt here from the last time you done that once more, and I'm bringing you to court for harassment at that point. Yes, and a lot of people don't do that because, and again, my experience with the law, a lot of the times they pick on the younger people. They pick on intimidable people like myself when I was younger. you see the cops come up there. There's two of them there. They're in uniform. There's flashing lights. Like it's a very intense situation to be in, especially if it's your first time there. And you all of this stuff goes out the window. It's very hard. But I think like what you said, the first thing you said is keep calm, and then remember you've more rights there to defend yourself and use your rights. You know, provide your license if it's required of you. But then after that point, you know, it's like, am I free to go or am I under arrest? And if you're not under arrest, bye bye, Mr. Officer. Don't give them what they need
I would
to
say,
criminalize you.
I used to try and, well, I've only had a few interactions with the police. The first time was when I attended a UPA protest in February 2016, I think.
Okay.
And February 23rd, I think it was. It was a chuffing cold day. It was the first time that I was aware of the term filibustered, because the Right Honourable, and I don't often use that term sincerely before an MP's name, the Right Honourable MP, the late Right Honourable MP, Paul Flynn, he spent his whole life trying to change legislation for cannabis. Yeah, he's a very good man. And he'd call people to Parliament, and I answered his call like many others did. That's I was stood outside Parliament in the cold that day, and they just filibustered the law. That was kind of a cataclysmic day for me. When I say cataclysmic, not as in the end of days, but, you know, like a catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
It was a catalyzing event for me. Yeah. Because as I left the filibustering, and I'd seen the police actually get violent, they attacked other prominent campaigners and activists, such as Callie Blackwell, Jeff Ditchfield, they and JJ, they were all arrested at that event, and not too gently neither. And I mean, I was in a frail situation not to be in the fray, but as I was heading back to the coach station with another two individuals who had attended, walked into the bus station. In fact, I was walking alone. I happened to just see two people there. And as I walked in, I saw two coppers, and they clocked me. And then I went from there, and I saw these two chaps. So I sat down with a coffee with them, and the coppers came up to them. And it was literally the, hello, what's going on here then? Nonsense, right? You wouldn't believe it, right? And we just sat there having a coffee. And this chap with me, Paul Taylor from Worcester, is very outspoken, ex-army, PTSD, And this copper started he says, "You're not with that cannabis lot, are you? You know, you haven't been down at Parliament with that cannabis lot, have you?" And we all sort of looked at each other, me and these two lads, blokes, and we thought, you know, it was that bit of a scary moment, the old fucking laws on us. We've all got pockets full of weed because we've all medicated. We couldn't be there without weed, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like shit. And then this Paul, I believe because of his ex-army service background, in fact, his courage came out and he slammed his hand on the table proper fucking loud. He says, "Yeah, you're damn right we're from that cannabis lot down there." And he told him his story, and I told him mine, and the other fella told him his. And by the end of it, the officers were hugging us, shaking our hands and saying, "We'd do exactly the same as you if we're in your positions, gentlemen."
Well, fair play to them, you know, for at least showing their human side.
Exactly, yeah. And that was a changing moment for me. Because that made me realize that person in that black suit with that yellow jacket that's dehumanized was a human.
Yeah.
And if you connect on a human level with another human, humanity occurs. And if you can get humanity to occur, wow, change can happen. Those officers came up with malevolent intent to arrest. They walked away shaking hands full of respect.
Yeah.
From that day forward, I've slammed my hand on the table and I've stood in my truth everywhere I've gone, everywhere. And that's what I'll continue doing everywhere I go. Yeah. And that's, you know, you say about inspire, and that's all I can hope to do, inspire folks.
And it was that the time that the Clark French and a number of other campaigners, it was the first time medical cannabis was ever brought into the House of Parliament, brought across the security barriers, security kind of okayed it and everything. There was no issues.
The government, or what had been arranged, allegedly, was a safe zone, apparently, where it was accepted that if people stayed within this area, they wouldn't be prosecuted for using cannabis. Some more ardent campaigners felt that, you know, the point of a protest is you don't do what you're told, where you're told, when you're told. You actually go there and protest meaningfully the way you choose.
Yes. Interestingly
enough, that very same year, later on, July the 7th, by which time because it was February 26th in 2018, March, about a month later, I've started WTU.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing, I've arranged Feet on the Street, which was the WTU protest outside Parliament when they were making it move from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2 for certain preparations. And I mean, okay, we didn't get thousands there. We may have had between 250, 500 people there, perhaps. There were a few other, like the UPA were there and other people were there as well. But WTU, they were campaigning against the change. And I phoned up because, you know, I try to do things properly by the book as best I can. So I phoned up Parliament and told them, I'm making a protest outside your place on such and such a date. Tell me what I have to do. And I spoke with all the police teams and all that. Turns out they knew nothing about this safe zone that apparently had been organised with the UPA. They said they had no knowledge of that, but maybe they had to say that. They did tell me, you know, if you come there with cannabis, you might get arrested. I said, that's perfectly fine. We will be there with cannabis. We will be using cannabis because it's essential to our health and well-being in one way, shape, form or another. And you can arrest us if you wish. But we're coming and we're going to smoke cannabis. And we went there. We spent the whole day. It was such a hot day because it was July 7th. Most people being stoners sat down and had a picnic. It wasn't a fucking protest. It was a picnic in the sun, man. Sat down, eating cakes, sharing fico, chatting, chilling, smoking. A wonderful time.
Yeah, I think once the weather picks up again, that needs to be done on like not a yearly one, like not a monthly one, but a weekly one. The community comes out in all of the parks across the UK, you know, and it doesn't have to be 200, 500 people. It could be literally a small little circle of 20, 30 consumers coming out and just doing, as you're so proudly doing, is standing up for your rights.
Well, I'm going to interject if I may.
Yeah.
I got a bit of a thing against pride.
Why?
Pride comes before the fall and is one of 7 deadly sins. We've been tricked by society into being prideful. That therefore condemns all our souls straight away to hell. Okay, I do believe in this shit. Some people don't, but I do. So by being prideful, we're actually condemning ourselves. So I'm not proud in the slightest. All I do is act with honor. Everything I'm doing is acting in honor. I'm standing in my truth with honor and without shame, not with pride. No pride whatsoever. And I would encourage people to do the same. Go forth with honor. Bring honor to our plant. You know, the way we act represents the plant. So it's important we act with integrity and honor and honesty everywhere we go. Otherwise, we misrepresent the plant and bring her into disrepute, you know?
Yeah, no, I got
Sorry about that. I always feel like I have to mention that about pride because we've been tricked. They've tricked kids into blaspheming on telly.
Yeah, well, I suppose really when I say pride, it's just that like criminalization brings a certain shame, and we should not be ashamed of ourselves because of this. And for me, the opposite of shame then is just being proud of yourself. Like don't let yourselves be trampled on. You know, don't be the downtrodden in society at all. Like pick yourselves up. You know, keep your head held high. I don't know if I could
hold your head high in honor.
Yeah, exactly. Hold your head high in honor. You know, like definitely don't want people to be sinning out there and condemning your souls to hell. Anyway.
You know what I'm saying? We've been fooled a lot lately in many ways, I feel.
Yeah. Well, but speaking about being fooled, I suppose just being on that topic, and you mentioned him earlier, Outlaw. I was a big supporter and was really like bigging up this guy when I started off this podcast. I kind of covered some of his actions, was bringing it out to people because I was inspired. I was motivated by, oh, look at this guy getting out there, you know, just challenging the laws. All right, whatever. He's wearing a balaclava, doing it. I don't care. But he was still like, you know, just challenging laws, giving free weed out to people, and also, you know, tackling the stigma of people who engage in like cannabis use, you know, by giving out stuff to the homeless and giving out money to the people who kind of need it and stuff like that. He's done a lot of great stuff. But over the last couple of months, I've become very skeptical of him as I've seen a lot of people kind of raising attention to the fact that they've reached out for assistance, help from him, and they don't get replies, or there's very little help given back to him. And yet to date, I've not been able to come up with a single person who's as he's kind of said, you know, has used his arguments in court and like have got compensation, or not even in court before it even gets to court, he's saying, and they've gotten compensation. Like the largest compensation he claims is like £17,000, which is a significant sum of money. Like I've not seen that. Like, you know, I think that if there's somebody out there and they got 17 grand back from the government, that like the fucking society, the different media companies outlets would want to kind of home in on that and say, hey, why did this person get 17 grand back for being stopped and searched? Now, is there something in the law where they can't report on this shit? But I don't think so. Like, so I don't know.
Well,
I've got very skeptical hippo eyes about this guy.
well, all I can do, I suppose, speak about honesty and integrity. So, I'm going to speak from the heart like I do.
Yeah.
All I can do is rewind to, in fact, I just go over my whole thing with Outlaw. I don't mind just talking about through that whole thing if it's helpful for you.
Yeah.
The first thing I will just talk on is, like you mentioned there, about the main media outlets not reporting on these possible cases. That is utterly feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Utterly feasible, because the main media ignored so much correspondence from myself and WTU because it didn't fit the narrative. So if it doesn't fit the narrative, they'll just leave it. Like, you're not hearing about loads and loads of adverse reactions in the news at the minute, but they're still occurring. Mm-hmm. Same sort of thing. So Outlaw could well have had these defense successes, and the media's won't bring attention, because the last thing they want to do is more people have same successes. So they won't shine the spotlight on his achievements for that reason. The one thing that I do find a bit bizarre is, like, I was able to reference specific cases, although I didn't mention their names for confidentiality. Those people are out speaking publicly on their own platforms, and they can't shout loud enough about the people that have helped them. And that's what I do find a little odd is, fair enough, he's saying these people want their confidentiality, but why aren't they out there blasting his trumpet sort of thing? Mm-hmm. So that is a little bit unusual. I mean, the better thing for me to do would be to rewind back to when I first became aware of Outlaw. So this probably going back, crikey, it might be, I don't know how long, maybe 12 months or so. In fact, I've got a really skewed perception of time since this lockdown shit's been occurring. I am really like discombobulated. I saw him crop up on the scene. I think it was Trev Coleman called him out, actually. Trev Coleman wrote a post on Facebook discussing Outlaw's book that was on Amazon about challenging the police or something. And Trev wasn't overly complimentary about it, in fairness. But he did say, this is exactly what I've been saying when I say him. Trev Coleman has been saying for years, there's no foundation to the law. There's no evidence for the law, so therefore the law can't stand. And he's been told that by chief constables. And his research is a big part of WTU CEDAR Future information. And where was I going? Fuck. Yeah, so that was, I saw Outlaw come onto Trev's post and sort of say, what's this, mate? What are you sort of slagging me off for? Yeah, literally. And, that's my first of him popping up on my radar type thing. I've been, like, WTU, although we fight for the human rights of everybody, sick and healthy, we were mainly poorly people in the group. And then Outlaw came along. I became aware of him. I can't remember if he reached out to me or if I think I reached out to him trying to arrange some, a dialogue to see if we could help one another in our aims type thing. And I had 3 Zooms in total, myself, Outlaw, and Guy Coxwell from CEDAR Future. In the first 2, we went over all the information that WTU and CEDAR Future have gathered over the years. We promised it to his campaign. He said he had the money to go to court, whereas WTU, we'd got the evidence, but not the money. We'd been fundraising for 3 years, but not successfully to raise enough. I only recently shut down the fundraiser. In fact, I've recently accepted defeat that we aren't going to raise the money this way, and have shut down the fundraiser. And there's about $6,000 in the solicitor's account. But we were going to, the plan was on the first video call was the 3 of us were going to make like a three-pronged joint attack. So, you had Guy Coxwell, he's got the historical aspects of cannabis prohibition, the evidence of no evidence. And then you've got the WTU, which is the human rights aspect. And then Outlaw had covered very efficiently the failed due diligence of the police aspect of the law. And it felt like the 3 of them had like a pitchfork of doom into the government's eye type thing, Felt like, how on earth can they argue this between his, I don't like to use the word followers, but let's say supporters, or his community, WTU and CEDAR Future at the time could probably have fielded between 50,000 and 100,000 warriors to the field, so to speak, which meant, they could easily have had enough money raised to go to court. But Outlaw had the money. He said, I've got the money to go to court. I've already got the money to pay for it. So me and Guy said, well, there you go. There's the information. Crack on, go to court, because me and Guy aren't bothered about ego. All we want is people to stop going put in prisons. You know what I mean? So we had 2 meetings about that. And then something did happen in between the second and the third meeting. I think it was High and Polite, I think it was, did a top 10 cannabis influencers for that year. And I wasn't actually aware of it. Somebody messaged me and said they were angry, like on my behalf, like, Phil, why aren't you in this top 10 list? And I laughed and said, well, clearly I've not been influential enough, isn't it? And, you know, that's it. My ego is not shit, man. I don't give a fuck about that bollocks. But anyway, Kelly was number 1, I think, and Outlaw was 2, and Simple was 3, and Farham might have been 6. I can't remember others. But when it came to the third Zoom, the meeting vibe had changed. And it wasn't so much us 3 going forward and doing this now. It's more, well, I think I can't use all of that information. It's too much information. It's going to cost a lot to get the barrister to read it. So I can't really use it all. And I've only got finite amount of money. So I'm just going to go off and do my thing. And he pretty much just went off and did his thing. Next thing, he released his paper, his document, in which you'll find a statement about the human rights of Mexicans. If you look in the WTU book that was published before, you will find my rhetorical question asking the British government, because in 2015, the Supreme Court of Mexico ruled the right to cultivate and consume cannabis was a human right under the development of personality and autonomy of health. Okay, so I'm a human. Mexicans are human. I've got the same rights as a Mexican. The fact our corrupt government won't acknowledge it isn't my problem. Really isn't my problem. I'm going to exercise my rights. So I put in this in WTU paper, you know, do we Brits have less human rights than our Mexican cousins, or are we less human than our Mexican cousins? I think it was. But you'll find that has been paraphrased is the correct term. It's been paraphrased from a question, a rhetorical question, into a statement in the document. And people that have read WTU and then read Outlaw's document said, hold on a minute, this looks like Phil's document. And, you know, bits of it were. And I gave him consent to use that. It wasn't like he nicked it. It was, yeah, here's the information. If we can use it to challenge the law, let's just challenge the law. That's all that matters. So in essence, that document that Outlaw published, it has his due diligence aspect in it first, and then it's got the WTU human rights aspect in it second, and then it's got the Seed Our Future historical aspects in third. Unfortunately, I feel he failed to credit the other elements that supported the formation of his document that made it what it is today. It wouldn't have been what it is had WTU and Seed Our Future not freely given them the information to use in his case. We've made all our information, me and Seed Our Future, open source for anyone to use in their cases. And that's what I said to him. It's all open source for anyone to use in their case. And he's took it and he's using it in his case. Now, he started what I believed was a judicial review going back. And he's made these big statements that, you know, war on cannabis will be over by the end of summer and all that sort of stuff, which I don't know. I haven't seen any court reference numbers. I've not seen any official paperwork. The legal firms that he's created, well, obviously I said to Robert Jappy, the solicitor of WTU, you know, what do you make of this firm that's been made? And he couldn't find much credibility for it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but at that point in time when he looked, he couldn't find credibility for it. He didn't think the Partners 500 and things like that would have their names and logos and brands attached to a mass crusader called Outlaw. So he felt that a lot of the logos and the links to information that are being portrayed as partners on his website aren't necessarily partners. That was one thing. I did do a little bit of due diligence because it's Outlaw Limited. So I went on to company's house and searched the company, and I have found the name of the director of the company. I'm not going to divulge this on public airs. If people want to do their own due diligence, that's up to them, isn't it? But you know, as a limited company, it's all registered, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? It's Outlaw Limited, so it's a limited company. Do your research. But the simple fact is,
I think anybody can get that too, isn't it? It's only like
I know I can get that. Yeah, I know I can get that.
Yeah.
Aside,
I just get 1 second. I'm just going to sort out this little guy. We won. Sorry. He's been good
man.
until now. I got a good half hour.
That's all right. He's doing really well. Good man.
We're just about there.
Bless him.
Little man needed to get freshened up there, I think.
No
He
need
was
to
a bit
worry, it's all
uncomfy.
good.
But sorry, but before I got pulled away there,
That's
you were telling
okay.
me about the outlaw and him. You giving him permission to use parts of your pieces there, and it
Yeah,
being
it was. Yeah, literally, myself and Guy said use whatever information can help, because all we want to do is see the change. You see.
Yeah, and where has your working together gone since then? So as it seems he's kind of flying solo now again.
Well, like I say, on the first 2 meetings, it was going to be this triple joint attack.
Yeah.
And then somebody, well, and part of the reason we've been unsuccessful in raising enough money is that there's been a lot of people going around trolling me, and WTU basically spreading lies that I am trying to steal people's money and that I'm a Tory shill, work with the pharmaceutical industry and all these kinds of nonsense. And they've very effectively destroyed my name and the group, really, I feel. So when I think it was
what evidence? Like, where is this coming from?
there's no evidence, mate. That's the thing.
That's
No evidence. Well, that's an even more complicated story in a minute. But when we had this second chat, I don't know how, I think Kevin from Hemphound was also in the chats, the Zoom chats, if I remember rightly now, thinking about it, or at least in some of them. So it wasn't just myself and Guy. I believe we had Hemphound Kevin in some of the Zooms as well. And I think he published something on his site discussing this triple joint attack between Outlaw, Seed Our Future and WTU.
That's right.
I think it was a bit of
that at the time.
Bit of a premature publication, as it happens, that shouldn't really have been published as soon as it was. Things hadn't been finalised and stuff. So that caused a little bit of a ripple. And because I had done a very excited live feed to my community group that we had at the time that hadn't been deleted through malicious reporting, I did this very excited because I've been very transparent all the way through. So I was doing live feeds whenever there's anything to update. So I pretty much got off a Zoom with Outlaw and did a live update, very excited, saying, we haven't got the money, but Outlaw's got the money and he's going to use our evidence and use his money and go and make the case happen, sort of thing. And these trolls that have been causing up trouble, I mean, they've done so much. Like the accountant that volunteered to go through the books to help clear my name because of these accusations from these trolls, they then harassed her and then phoned her employer and nearly had her sacked just to get her to stop volunteering to do the accounts for WTU. So it's made it so I haven't been able to exonerate myself or clear my name because we then lost the accountant. So this person, which at the time went under the name of Rusk Meags or Danksy Bristol or Bud Centennial Man, a load of fake profile names, contacted Outlaw and said I was using Outlaw's name to try and get people to put money into our campaign, which was an utter nonsense, absolutely utter nonsense. WTU had been raising money for like 3 years before Outlaw even cropped up on the scene type thing. So this person created this huge public argument really on the WTU page, and myself and Outlaw, we discussed through it and, we concluded there was no beef between us two at the end of it. But he felt that my over exuberant video, my excited video had been unprofessional, and he kind of drew back from me from that point, but he still took the human rights argument of the WTU case and incorporated it into his document, that's what's there now.
Happy days.
I all I care about in being successful, to be fair. I'm not going to cast any aspersions on the gentleman's character. I don't know him from Adam. What I would say is that the judicial system isn't there for us. It's not there for the poor people. It's there for the elite. And for all I know, he has initiated a judicial review. Although I think if you had initiated a judicial review, there should be some official paperwork and reference numbers and shit like that, that if I was in that circumstances, I'd have been making transparently available. But that's not to say he's not doing it.
Just because and doing it.
Yeah, just transparently not doing it for whatever purpose. I mean, when I first sat in a Zoom with him, right, and he sat there with his balaclava on and his voice disruptor, I suddenly felt like a very stupid
He
man.
had a voice disruptor, Richie.
Yeah.
He didn't even use
I,
his voice.
no.
Oh man.
I feel like a very stupid man because I've stood in my truth. I haven't hidden my identity.
Yeah.
I haven't hidden my whereabouts, my location, nothing at all. I've just stood out. This is the truth. Now, he told me he's a music producer. And when he first, him and a few friends, they started getting famous like, and he couldn't do with the not being able to go anywhere without being recognized. So he's concealed his identity through his profession and now through his campaigning.
I got
so, I felt, I thought, God, I should have withheld my identity, maybe.
Yeah.
The only reservations I've got is Phil Monk can't disappear anywhere, can he? Whereas Outlaw can.
Yeah, he can
no one knows
in the
who's
morning
beneath
if
the
he
mask.
wanted.
In fact, anyone can be Outlaw. All they got to do is stick a face mask on and say they're Outlaw.
Yeah, funny enough, it's the only item of merchandise on his store that's always sold out.
No one can know, can they? You know what I mean? Who can know who is Outlaw even?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he has started a judicial review with all the information that he has gathered from other people. I hope that it's just the courts are delaying rather than it's not happening.
Well, in my most recent message from him, he tells me that he needs 500 of these test cases before he can put in a class action lawsuit or something like that to get the judicial review going.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that was the most recent message I got from him. He was trying to explain what it is that he's doing, as I'm skeptical. I'm just going to roll down the message there to the most recent one, where he mentions about 500 people. But you go down here, there's a few messages he's after.
Is that a test case that's gone through the court?
Yeah, he says, I've not got the following from 100 people I've helped. Well, I don't know. I got a massive following. I know. I'm just looking for the part where he talks about like needing 500 people. Yeah, also tells me he's grown a fair few plants too. There we go. He says, I need 500 acquittals before I can do a group litigation mass action thing. I've never set out to help the prescribed people with funding because they're already legally protected. But don't get me wrong, if we had unlimited money, I would pay it. And that was in reference to Selena's case there, as Selena needs to raise $5,000, which there's actually a GoFundMe active there now for Selena's case as well.
Yes, I believe
but
that's right.
I was telling him about Selena's case, and he was just kind of like, oh, well, because she's a medical patient, she's already protected, and it's kind of like it's not his thing.
Obviously, she's not, because she's being prosecuted.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I'm just like, this is your thing, dude. It's just like you're supposed to be helping people in court, and it's just like he's telling me that he's helping people before they go to court. It's on mistakes the cops make and stuff like that, and you have to tell them that your cannabis is legal for his approach to work. Is kind of how I'm understanding it. Like, but he says he needs these 500 acquittals. But if he's got this fucking magic defense, like this magic approach, you can take the cops with cannabis. Like, where's the problem in coming up with 500 people to test it? Like, he's got 80,000. He's got 80,000 followers on Instagram. Like, that's a lot of people there who he'd be able to catch on. If he was just to get a small percentage of them, he won't be long getting that 500 people he needs. Like, so, that's kind of what he said to me there, that he needs to get the 500 people. That's kind of what he said.
What you need really is 500 people to go and get themselves arrested to get into the courts.
Yeah,
really.
That's what he's saying. Like, but he's not made not from what I've seen, like making any effort there to recruit these people. Like, have you ever seen a post go up in his thing saying, I need people to volunteer to get these acquittals done so we can make cannabis legal? There's not. No. It's always promises that I'm going to drop this information there now soon once my legal team do this, and next you get a redacted document that comes out, and it's just like, it's about as useful as shit at the end of your shoot. Like,
as it happens. And having been so transparent with all the correspondence that I've engaged with, I did find it slightly unusual. It could be I'm too open for my own good, maybe, I don't know. He's obviously got a strategy. I don't know what that is. It's not for me to question, really, but I find very many things are like there's no court reference numbers, for example. So really, it should all be in the public record. Every case should be verifiable in the public record for people to go and actually look at and then try and employ themselves. But if he's helping people before they get into court, then that's not going to change the law in any way whatsoever, because it's not going to set a precedent, is it?
No, definitely not. Like, and
The
again,
only way
like,
to change
go on. You're saying
the only way to change the law will either be through political lobbying and pressure on government, or through getting the jury to realise that the law is unfounded and therefore should be nullified.
Yeah. It just needs to be challenged by the people, and I hope people like yourself and the Trev Colemans and stuff like that, I hope these trolls, that they haven't taken their toll, and I hope you can kind of find it within you to continue this campaign, because now more than ever, people like yourselves are needed in the UK, as we kind of talked about, the Boris Johnson announcing that 10-year plan there, literally a war on drug users. So you really need to be kind of standing up now and finding who it is in the community to be supporting, that's really going to do well for you. And like for Outlaw to say that your excited video there like was unprofessional, but it's just like, no,
I am unprofessional. I'm a sick and disabled man.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. It's like it's unprofessional because you're not really a professional. You're of the community for the community, and you were excited to bring this information to your community because you're all about transparency.
That's exactly what I said.
Outlaw views as unprofessional, because again, like if he is a music producer, then the guy probably knows a bit about promotion, and like what I all I can ever really see him doing like over the years. He says he's helped people, but I don't think there's anyone he's helped more than himself, really. Like, you look at these interviews and stuff that he's chosen to do over the time, like it's only ever been big and really up himself. He's not given anything of any real value to people, except like, a bit of entertainment, some maybe false idol there to be supporting. But I don't, and again, look, I'm open to be proven wrong, and I've said it to the guy. I was like, I'll gladly go online, do the video. I'll spend just as much time as I've spent spouting my skepticism about the guy, apologizing to the guy if he can prove me wrong. But he's not done that to date. Like, and maybe he'll get these 500 people and he'll have his thing. But I'm open to be proven wrong anyhow.
They see, that's the funny thing. There was no mention of the 500 people initially. It was creating a judicial review. So that seems to have changed slightly along the way. Interestingly, I have had maybe, a dozen folks contact me and say they'd reached out and had no reply. And, he might be inundated in correspondence, like I know I was with WTU when it was going at its full speed ahead. You're swamped in messages and things.
There's so many people affected by this, like.
Yeah, exactly. So even though people have come to me saying, I've contacted Outlaw Services and I've had no reply, I'm not going to use that to cast aspersions that they aren't replying, because it could be that there's been that many they haven't been able. I don't know, but I know that there are some people reaching out for help and they're not receiving it, and then they're kind of feeling let down as a result of not getting the help. But
it's not even just the help that they're not getting. Like when Carly launched the Can Card, Outlaw launched his Medi Card, I think it was called, and that they were £20 to go. They were £10 cheaper than Can Card, but they were £20 to go. I believe he sold out of them. He sold so many he had to shut down the link to buy them. But there was people out there I seen on his own Instagram, like been waiting months and not received anything. And if they ask for a refund, then they're given a refund rather promptly, which is a positive thing. But still, he's after bringing in a lot of money from the community through these different avenues. His book, that Medican card, and he's got his little merch store up there as well. That's a nice little trickle of money coming in. And again, look, I really do hope the guy is using it for what he says he is, and that maybe this time next month I'll kind of be proven wrong, because that's what he says.
So
come January, we'll see it all. I think come January he's just going to delete his account and he's going to be gone.
Because we'll have a new tax year coming up soon as well, won't we? I can only hope the same. Interestingly enough, on the back of the Can card and the Medican card and Medican ID card, myself, Guy Cox and Colin Craig created a Fact card. I'm not sure if you know about Fact card.
Yeah, I came across that, yeah.
that's again, there is a small charge of £1 or £2 if anybody wants to get a hemp version. But in essence, it's removing consent and challenging the law. It's not asking for anyone's data. It's kind of trying to empower them to stand against the legislation. And also the website gives the information that we would use. In fact, Colin is using, because he's challenging charges in Scotland at the minute. So, this is what we would do if they came for us type thing. And that's all we've tried to make available.
Yeah.
Whereas all these other cards, it's kind of like, oh, I'm sick and dying, please don't prosecute me, rather than saying your law's based on lies and bullshit. Fuck off. But in far more eloquent terms.
But what's that charge that's going on in Scotland at the moment you're on about with Colin?
Colin has Crohn's. He's utilised cannabis for his Crohn's for years, over a decade or so.
Is that puffing cannabinoids on Instagram? Is that Colin?
That's him, yeah, puffing cannabinoids.
Excellent.
That's it, yeah, puffing cannabinoids. He's defended himself, I think, around 14 times in court, and he's currently defending himself again now. It's against a small possession of cannabis and psilocin charge, and he's challenging both of those. In essence, in the same way for the psilocin as with the cannabis, there's no foundation evidence. It's all based on politics and lies. And, he's in the process of doing that, and it's a very long-winded thing. The Scottish legal system is different to the English, and he keeps being bounced back. He's had diets of debates and things like that. It's very exciting watching Colin. I mean, he's like a massive warrior that's fighting and fighting. And a lot of the time he's just fighting single-handedly, in the court, going it alone. And I met him at Product Earth a few years ago and heard about him challenging charges. And I just wanted to give him all the information I had. And that's where our friendship has grown from there. And that's how it culminated in the fact card, in fact.
Yeah. Well, Colin's got some great content he puts out over on his Puffin Cannabinoids Instagram page. But I've been kind of following his stuff, and he's been updating over there about his case and stuff. So I think now that you bring him up, it's very relevant to be following up with him, maybe with another interview after
definitely.
this.
You should definitely get on and have a chat with Colin.
Yeah. Is there anything else from yourselves then? I know you're saying that the trolls were kind of taking its toll, but is there anything to look forward to in 2022 from the community?
I have nothing specific on my mind and radar. I know Product Earth and Paradise Gardens are intending to run again next year. That's as it stands. Yeah. Which, if any of your listeners haven't seen Product Earth or Paradise Gardens, I can't recommend them enough. Absolutely fantastic events. Complete celebration of cannabis and all things cannabis related, and a free safe zone where no one bothered anyone. The world didn't come to an end because thousands of people met at the weekend and were smoking weed together, and it was beautiful. But in terms of other events, none that I'm fully aware of at the moment. Like I say, I've kind of hit a bit of a hiatus. I had to take a few weeks break after I'd quite an onslaught of trolling that just, I know it's all just words on a screen, but there might as well just be knives in my soul, basically, for the lies and the shit and the stuff that they've written about me. I mean, they've literally, anyone that shared anything about me publicly, they've private messaged them and told them all kinds of things like, my wife only left me the house and the kids because I threatened to commit suicide. And, how these people could even think they could even know the inner workings of my marriage, or rather its breakdown, it just boggles my mind. But yeah, really, really nasty, vindictive people have gone out of their way over nearly 2 years. And it all started because this Russ Meeks chap asked me if I'd give him the money we'd raised for the legal fund. He says, can you private message me? Turns out he was a bit of a supplier, like. He's like, he says, can you give me the money that you raised, and I'll use that to set up a grow, and we can start selling that to sick people and make some real money. And I says, no, I can't. That's not. He says, one, it's too short-sighted. It won't change any laws. And two, it's not what the money's being given to me for. It's been given to me to go in a legal fund, and that's what it's doing with it.
That mention actually popped up on my radar there a couple of months ago, and the guy was just trying to sell, like that was it. That was his agenda. He had a product to sell, and that was all it was. And that was on a forum here in Cork, like on Facebook, just openly messaging people through the group and being like, oh yeah, I'll send you out some free stuff or whatever.
Yeah, That's what it's offered me, free oil first, and I said no, I don't want to accept it because I'm only being offered it because of the position I'm in, and I'm only in this position by chance. I don't want to take advantage of my position, so I declined his offer of free oil, and then it started all this shit stirring, and it's gone on, and I think 18 months, 2 years maybe. It's been going on for quite some time, and it's become, like I say, really concerted. Tracking down the accountant. I met someone last weekend, and they'd been approached by them and told all sorts of stuff about me. They'd also told me that they were intending to kind of do a campaign against the people that run the website for us, to try and turn them off and get them against supporting us. And they've just done everything they can. And apparently it's because I've been asking sick people, like myself, like you, just to put £1 in a pot. At one point, we had 6,200 members in our group. And if I asked, I was asking people to donate money so we could go to court. You're fucking right I am. I haven't got all this money to take it to court. I live on bloody PIP and universal credit. So I asked everyone £1 a month. And for those that could. Unfortunately, not many people did, and for whatever reasons. And at one point, if only 5,000 people had put in £1.92 for 52 weeks, we'd have had £495,000 to go to court. Yeah. But it didn't happen for whatever reasons. I'm not very good at business and marketing or any of those things. It didn't happen. And this group of people going around telling people that I was stealing money and defrauding sick and disabled people, and throwing the community under the bus and all kind of stuff. I've watched the support diminish. Mm-hmm. And then there's been reports against the group, which have had the groups all deleted several times. And I haven't got the physical capacity to keep rebuilding these things. Yeah. And in essence, it's kind of destroyed my good name, making me out, is cast doubt upon me, basically. And with Outlaw as well, I've seen funds stop into the WTU account, and then I see people pledging on his pages, which is fair enough. I understand people, they want to change who they're supporting, but all I feel is this truck that was being pushed along by loads of people, because they thought that horse was going to win the race sort of thing. They've now seen another horse and they've gone off to back the other horse instead, which means this horse now definitely can't win because no one's backing it anymore. Yeah. Well, I just wish everyone had carried on backing all the horses, hedge their bets and bet all the horses instead of switching bets.
Yeah, well, we're dealing with a limited kind of audience out there, and that's the only reason I will voice my concerns, skepticism about this guy, is because I do believe he's taken a support and attention away from real and transparent campaigners who are not afraid to show their face, who are using their real name, using their real lived experience and sharing that with people and opening up themselves then to the world to be attacked in the way in which you did. When you expose yourself like that, you become quite vulnerable. You're open to all these kind of angles of attack. Now, again, as we say, Outlaw, you could just literally just take off the mask and disappear tomorrow if he wanted to. None of us know who he is. But with you, Trev, and all of the other aforementioned campaigners, your names, your faces are out there. You're open to be attacked and to be targeted also by the authorities too, Yeah. And I believe for that and that reason alone, you should have 800,000 followers on all your platforms. Like, you should be getting 10 to 100 times more support than what this guy is. Because if this guy is not even willing to put his face to the campaign, it's like, well, how much does he really believe in the campaign?
Who are people believing in?
Yeah, that's it. It's okay, he wore a mask, I have no issues with that, but it's been 5 years now. I think he done his first action in 2016 or something when he gave out the free weed. Was that like 5 years ago or something? Mm-hmm. And he's not really taken off the mask since. It's like, come on, it's only so long you can keep up this before people are going to get skeptical, and I'm incredibly
You should have imagined if at the end of success, if he was successful in his endeavors, then there would be the grand unmasking, I would imagine.
Yeah, hopefully, and again, I'm open to be proven wrong, but again, I hope having you on here today and having a chat with you, that this helps people to get to know Phil Monk, as I know a lot of people would have heard of you, as I've mentioned you and we the Undersigned a few times through the show, but hopefully, it gets out further afield too, and helps just declare your name of it, because from me sitting here and talking with you, I would have no problem handing over my small fella, I would have that much trust with you there. I have not picked up any bad vibes.
I'd live and care for him like he was my own flesh and blood,
Yeah, and I think from talking with you as well, I think we've got a lot in common there. And I really do strongly agree with your approach there, that the prohibition of drugs, it's a violation of our human rights. The prohibition of cannabis, it's a violation of our human rights. And that's the only thing that we all need to be kind of standing behind, saying, like, never mind all this other legal nonsense, with the outlaw looking for little holes in the law and all of this stuff. It's like, no, the law is wrong. The law is a violation of our laws, like, and our rights, and our rights come before these laws, like. So it's important that we continue that, like.
I'm hoping, because I have, like I said, the accountant was scared off and intimidated away. But another friend, who I'm not going to reveal, has offered to come forward, because I've got like all the receipts to go through and to go through the accounts, and I physically haven't got the capacity. So I've got a friend, hopefully in between Christmas and New Year, coming over. Well, basically by the end of the tax year, I intend to have the WTU books fully published and transparent on the website. And what they'll actually find out is I'm owed money, in fact, because when I used to post stuff out, all the merchandise and that, or the prizes to the raffles, it paid out of my account. I paid the postage, and then sometimes, not always, I would refund it from the WTU account to reimburse myself the postage, because you can't pay for the postage via PayPal, and no bank would give WTU account. So I had no other way to do it. But it turns out, because I did have one chap going through all the accounts with me, and he's like, Phil, you do realize, like, you haven't reimbursed yourself loads of times. And I said, yeah, I know, that's my contribution to the cause, isn't it? So, in real terms, when we get to the bottom of the accounting, it'll probably find several £100 that I've never reclaimed back from campaign expenses and things like that.
And it's something you've probably no intentions, you're happy to leave.
No, I have a hell any intention of ever claiming it back.
As if your time wasn't enough of a contribution, you're still giving.
As if my time wasn't enough, exactly right. But the beauty is, I'm hoping that once the accounts are published and my name exonerated and cleared and all doubt removed, then who knows where the future will go. But at this point in time, I had to stop collecting funds, because it was a very small group of sick and dying people that were donating. And I just didn't feel it was fair anymore, because I've accepted defeat in real terms, that we aren't at the rate we're going, we weren't going to raise the money. So I had to cancel the fundraiser. The money's been saved by the solicitor. It will either end up going to Selena to help with her case, or to Trev Coleman to help with his case, or other people whose cases have been challenged, or it will be used for another case. But no one's having the money. It's all going to go on a case as was intended, just not the case. And if there are any business people out there with shitloads of money that want to change the law, please get in touch, because it literally is the justice. You've got to have the money to get into it.
Might get lucky, someone like David Beckham might see this and throw a bit of coin your way. David Beckham's in the cannabis business these days, isn't he?
Exactly. Unlock the market and just stop the injustice and the harm of the prosecution. That's what's eating me alive.
100%. And to undo the harm that has been done by removing the criminal convictions that have been handed to people.
My brother can't be brought back to life, but to know that no one else's son or daughter was going to be arrested for cannabis and be put in a prison where there's more drugs than on the street. And maybe come out a heroin addict.
I think it's interesting you brought that up, because I wrote an article recently just highlighting my experience with the prohibition of cannabis and its effect on my mental health. And I highlighted that the first time a court summons was brought to my house, it was given to my mum and dad. And that it drove a wedge between me and my family at a time when I was already very vulnerable. I was like 18 at the time. But there was a lot going on in my life. Like, there was a lot of ups and downs that I was dealing with. And then this just really threw a spanner into the works. When I had that wedge driven between me and my mum and dad, that left me like alone, isolated, almost even more and vulnerable. And I wrote in that article, how at the time, I could have very easily gone down the road of drug addiction and drug abuse, moved on to much harder drugs because of this divide that was put there with me and my family, because of this sense of a lost connection. I would have sought it in other places. But thank God, for those bullies who bullied me when I was younger, I didn't like wallow in in pitying myself, and start abusing drugs and go down that kind of a road of escapism. I was like, no, I'm not going to escape for this. I'm going to turn, I'm going to face it, and I'm going to fight it, and I'm going to stand up for myself. And
Respect.
that's what I continue to do today. But I very could have very easily been much like your brother, you know, and not been here doing this today, like, you know. So for people like your brother and many others who aren't with us today, people like ourselves will continue to do that, like, and we will carry their spirits on, and you know, hopefully once we get the justice we need, that they'll be proud of us as well, you know, for fighting on in honor of them.
Yeah, that would be nice. I do it in honor of their name and memories, and even
Yeah,
people I don't know. I don't campaign for my rights. I'm exercising my rights
yeah,
already.
same.
Yeah, yeah, I'm exercising my rights.
It's been a great discussion with you, Harfield.
And
Is there anything else you want to add in there? If
well, I don't know. I mean, we haven't even touched about the current crisis, which I feel, you know, we're all avoiding that topic because we're scared of the division it causes. Now, I know with
with the whole
WTU,
COVID and everything,
yeah, COVID and everything.
yeah,
Now, I feel for the first time in 3 years that I can now speak freely because I've stopped fundraising. But as the representative and founder of WTU, when I was expressing my concerns over the current crisis and what was going on, I've been attacked so many times online, not physically,
yeah,
verbally, for my held beliefs that what we're being told isn't entirely the truth, and they are shafting humanity all over again. COVID is the new cannabis. But, you know, I was kind of attacked and told I couldn't express, like I shared a video saying that swine flu was another fake pandemic. Because there was evidence to show that it was a fake pandemic. And people took offense, like, how dare Phil Monk suggest that the COVID crisis is a hoax? Well, why the fuck shouldn't I suggest that if that's what I think it is? And that's what I do. I'm not saying the virus doesn't exist. I'm saying the same as cannabis. They've exaggerated the potential risk and they're exploiting humanity for their own personal, private, and social gains. Exactly the same as cannabis. Yeah, cannabis causes psychosis in 1 in 4,000 people. Yes, COVID kills people, but what? How many people in how many hundred? You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's all been misrepresented all over again. But I feel people like yourself, like I was, you know, holding a platform, feel reluctant or a bit wary of discussing this topic because it causes division in the community we've created. And I actually, by expressing my opinions, I created division in my community and actually caused rifts and ruptures because some people believe you should be forcibly injected and some people don't believe you should be forcefully injected. And that then causes a split and a division. But by not talking about it, evil occurs when good people stand silent.
Yeah.
So we must talk about it. We mustn't be scared about the division it causes. We must stand in our truth and our tribe will stand with us. And that's what I've concluded now. So, yeah, I'm very vocal and outspoken and say it how I see it. Not everyone likes it, but yeah, that's what I'm talking about with Mac tomorrow.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. Like I think at the start of this pandemic, I recall being at work at the time and saying it to the guy I was working with in the van. I was just kind of like, John, this reminds me an awful lot like how they introduced drug policy at the time. They stirred up a lot of fear mongering in the media and stuff like that. They got people scared, and then they gave them the solution and we're going to ban drugs. But it's just like, you know, we seen the effect that public policy has had on the health of our communities. You know, it's just like we've got drugs being sold by criminal gangs, you know, where they're hiring kids as young as like 12 to run their drugs across county lines and stuff like that. It's just
Which
like,
wouldn't happen if we had regulation.
there we go. Yeah, exactly. So when I heard the government introducing these policies around this pandemic now, you know, for the good of public health, I just can't help but again get skeptical of them and their desire for improvement of public health. And it's absent of all the conventional stuff you would think they would say, you know, people to get it. Make sure you're getting enough exercise, guys. You know, watch your weight. Make sure you're getting vitamin D into your diet. You know, getting all your vitamins. Like they're not giving people that information. It's like, no, you're locked down. Like go stay home. It's like stay indoors where you don't get any vitamin D, where your immune system's going to be weakened.
There's a good reason for why they're not giving that information as well.
Yeah. Oh,
and you'll find that that's representative governments around the world not giving that information. And that's mainly because they're all singing or dancing to the tune of the World Economic Forum and the globalist agenda. So, you know, our prime minister, your prime minister isn't our prime minister. It's the World Economic Forum's prime minister. And they're all just puppets. We're all watching a Punch and Judas show, D, and we're the audience, and we don't know who's pulling the strings. Well, I think I do, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow's show. Mate, listen, It's beautiful watching you be a daddy.
Yeah, I know it's been a pleasure, and this guy's been a star. Only 1 or 2 interruptions, which is great.
No, he's
But
good as gold.
Phil, thanks very much for your time. I know you've run off to collect your own kids now from school.
Yeah,
So
we'll have to. Yeah. Listen, always
this
here for
guy's
a
due a
catch up.
bottle, so I'll go feed him now as well.
He's doing well. Listen, man, keep in touch, and we'll touch base soon.
Will indeed.
So
Thanks
it's not
again.
over. The fight's not over. It's just changing and it's dynamic.
That's it. Well, we look forward to chatting to you again in the future, and hopefully catching up in person next time.
Yeah, man. Nice one, Martin. Look forward to it.
Good luck,
Keep
Phil.
well, bud. Enjoy being a dad, man. Speak
I
soon.
will. Love it.
Yeah. Nice one, bud.
And there we go, guys. Welcome back. That was the great and wonderful Phil Monk of We the Undersigned, WTUHQ.org. Oh, let me fix this the right way. That way, yeah. Be trying to get the direction right using the camera, and it's like everything is backwards. But yes, Phil spoke a lot of truths there, much truths. But that final point he was making there, it's kind of very right. It's kind of like this other thing that's going on in our society, you know, where rights are being trampled on, and we're kind of just standing idly by, saying nothing, because the fucking stigma is strong out there, you know, and all of this. But yeah, Elijah getting the last word in there, says John. Yeah, he was, yeah. And in fairness to Elijah, he was an absolute gem throughout that interview. Only 2 interruptions, which wasn't too bad. As I said, one of them was for a dirty nappy. So, do you know, if I was sitting there in a dirty nappy, I wouldn't be too happy either. I don't know if you can see actually as well. I actually had Elijah up here not too long ago, just up over my shoulder, and he just left me a gift there on my shoulder. I don't know if you can see the old lovely dribble mark. But yeah, it was great to have Phil on, in fairness, to be chatting just all about cannabis activism across the UK. But also just to get his views there on Outlaw as well, just to get a bit more insights into that guy and what's going on over there, and hopefully to maybe shed a bit more light on the activists in the community over there in the UK, and who people should be maybe standing behind. Again, you know, Phil mentioned a number of good people there. Trev Coleman being one of them, and yes, there's many people out there that we need to be kind of getting behind, supporting now, because these people are actually going to be leading the way to change the laws. And I think Outlaw is just doing a bit of a Pied Piper there for people. So I look forward to get more interviews done there throughout the coming weeks. As I say, I'll be giving the 420 News a break there after Friday's show. We'll leave it off maybe until we'll do one maybe before the New Year's, and we might leave it off then until after the New Year's again. But we'll be getting some more interviews done, and we'll get those out to you. We might do them live like this as well, just have the interview prepped, maybe do a bit of an introduction, a bit of a chat, and we'll go ahead with the interview then for after that. But yeah, so I hope everybody enjoyed that chat with Phil Monk. And again, if you haven't heard of Phil Monk before, guys, make sure you find him. I believe he has got social media accounts, Facebook. I'm not too sure about Instagram. But you also will find him using We the Undersigned. So I believe they're on a couple of social media outlets as well. Facebook, definitely, anyway. But possibly other places too. I'll pop up their website there now, just so you can see it, so you know you're on the right website. Boom, that's their website. This is We the Undersigned, WTUHQ. So mental health conditions are prominent among the reasons for medical cannabis use. It's one of the banners up there. So next one, We the Undersigned have a human sovereign right to cannabis. You know, like this is a great campaign to be getting behind. Like I can't understand why this just hasn't gotten the support that other campaigns have got. You know, again, somebody else that we were talking about there. It's crazy to think, and it just definitely fuels my skepticism there, and makes me maybe believe some of the comments that have come in there is kind of, this guy Outlaw actually had the law. You know, is he sent in to kind of diffuse the rising that's happening there, you know, to cause division in amongst our community, you know, and to also kind of create this situation where the campaign is stagnated everybody's sitting back now and waiting for this guy to make the next move, and meanwhile this guy is kind of not even actually engaging with the community or the leaders in the community any longer. So it's yeah. Casa de Strugas says, keep fighting the good fight, Phil, and he certainly will. I hope he will anyway. You know, he definitely seemed a bit disheartened because of the trolls out there. And again, you know, like, they go into conspiracies, and Phil loves these conspiracies. But maybe the two are together, you know, maybe the trolls are actually out there attacking the real leaders of the campaign. And you know, at the same time, your man Outlaw's kind of taking the wind out from under their sails, like, so they're getting attacked from both sides then, and that's in that sense, and therefore, you know, of course, they're not going to be getting the support that they were hoping for. So, you know, again, just make sure, guys, if you're over there in the UK, most especially, like, just to be singing these guys' names everywhere you go when you're talking about cannabis legalization. You know, it's Phil Monk, it's Weedy Undersigned, it's Guy Coxwell, Cedar Future, Trev Coleman. He mentioned Colin there as well, Puffin Cannabinoids, Selena Stein. Like, these are some of the names that you need to be aware of. These are real people, real lived experiences, and they're truly fighting in a transparent way too for the legalization of cannabis. And each and every one of those people deserve all of your support. You know, they should have 10 times the support there as that other guy. Hazmat 58. What the F is a human sovereign right when it's at home? Well, I suppose what he's referring to there is just our fundamental human rights under the European Convention on Human Rights, isn't it? Is that the title of it? So I believe that's kind of what he's alluding to there when they're kind of saying that we the undersigned have a human sovereign right. So it's sovereign to us, like, you know, it's not for the government to be giving it away, like, you know, it's sovereignty. I'm not too sure what the definition of sovereignty is, but definitely heard it being thrown around there as well with Ireland and Europe. It's like, oh, they're selling off our sovereignty. Yeah, just like, yeah, I can see what you're saying, like, you know, this was right wing rhetoric and stuff, but for me, that always confused me. It's like right and left. I'm just like, all I see is people. It's like, oh, he's a right winger, and just like, that's a person to me. He's got views and opinions, but it doesn't mean that he fits in a fucking neat narrow box here. That's so easy. He's right wing. It's just like, people are complex. Like, you just don't stick a person in a fucking box just because he believes one thing. Because while a person might lean right on something, they could swing left fucking heavily on other things. Like, you know, it's just like, but you only get a perspective of the right wing opinion, and then you're like, he's a right winger, he's a right winger. You know, it's just like, I hate that shit, man. I just think it, for me, it just confused me around political arguments. I was right wing view, it's left wing view. It took me a while to actually understand what was right, what was left, and all that stuff. Billy Bond says, Phil is not wrong in much he says. Mine is far more ranty and squarey. That's why I liked him talking instead. Yeah, Phil is definitely good with words there anyway. He can definitely tell a story. Yeah, Hazmat saying, yeah, this stuff gets thrown around a lot. Yeah, it does. It just gets kind of thrown around in all sorts of ways. And again, you know, when it comes to the legalese and all of this stuff, I don't understand any of those kind of terminologies either. All I kind of understand is just what I see in front of me, which is kind of black and white. It's like, we've got human rights. I don't need any other fancy words. We've got human rights, and they can't be denied us. And I'm challenging these laws now as they're currently denying our human rights. And as Phil Monk quite rightly put it, under a false pretense, where it's like in the interest of public safety or public health or whatever it is that they're trying to say about cannabis, you know. And yeah, no, I definitely don't get the feeling that you're writing them off at all, Hazmat. But yeah, I can see it definitely, like, and I think Phil brings that up as well. And this is why I don't engage in any of these kind of other conversations around COVID or any of this other kind of stuff, is because I don't want to divide our community at all. I think that why you're most likely here is because of cannabis, and I would like to keep that the 99 percentile of what's conversed here on the show, like, you know, and only kind of 1% we might go off on a strange old tangent there where I might give you an opinion on something else outside of cannabis. So he is right, you know, that silence that's out there as well, a lot of fear of censorship as well from people out there who've kind of got platforms to speak upon. So he's got a lot of very valid points there. But yeah, I think you make some points there as well, Hazmat. But Hazmat says, I'm not writing them off, I'm aware, but such talking points shouldn't be attached to the cannabis argument. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and I do my very best to keep the two separate. But having Phil on as a guest, he gave me an hour and a half of his time. I was more than happy to allow him, give him 5 minutes there, 10 minutes towards the end, just to have another conversation there. It's his views, it's not being rammed down anybody's throat or anything like that. It's just like, John Finnegan says, a bird never flew on one wing. Martin Condon. Is this some sort of one of these weird Chinese proverb things? Like, it's like, if a tree falls in the woods, can anyone hear it? A bird never flew on one wing. I never heard of that one. I suppose, like, is that what you need? Like, you need both wings in order for the bird to fly. So is this that kind of what you mean? Like, the community needs to support one another in order to keep this fucking thing afloat, keep it flying. Maybe. If so, that's yeah, I can see the meme there now. And Hazma58 says, rights are subjective. No, totally. And yeah, that's kind of my interpretation of our rights. That the Misuse of Drugs Act violates our right to privacy. That the authorities out there, say under this like gangland, what was it, the Gangland Act or something like that they passed there. I can't remember what year it was. It was maybe about over 10 years ago. We were having a big load of trouble in Ireland, especially around Limerick. I think it was around the time that Limerick guy got killed, the rugby player. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. But there was like legislation passed which would give the Gardaí powers to tap and listen in on, say, people's phone calls they believe to be involved in gangland activity. So again, like, you know what I mean? Whose interpretation of gangland activity then is it? Like, it's like there could be a cop out there and say like, oh, Martin's a gang leader here. Look, and he's rallying his troops out there all the time, like, and whose interpretation of a gang, like, and yeah, we just have to be very careful there of how we allow the government power over our lives and intrusion in our privacy, because how will they use it? That's the thing. You have to wonder, how will they use it? We don't know who's going, like, where this is going to end up over the next while. So it's yeah, let's hope that next year brings a lot of positive things anyway from the cannabis sense. Yeah, I've no idea what to call it either, Barry. So yeah, we'll move on. Stab City Kid. Where's that? I never heard of that place. Stab City. Sounds sounds appealing. Billy Bonds, Gangnam Style. Sorry, while I was out there, I grabbed myself an old milkshake. But that thing gives you an awful load of cotton mouth, worse than cannabis, in fairness. Oh. What's this, Billy? Billy's sharing Amazon links. Are you getting another affiliate link? Is that an affiliate link there now, Billy? Do I get commission there if somebody makes a purchase through that link, huh? He's only got a spanner an hour and he's already like abusing his powers. Joking, Billy. It's all good. Curious though. Just looking back through the comments. Oh, is that the book of Phil Monk, I believe? Let's see. That's my suspicion. I haven't opened the link, but that's what I'm thinking. Yes, it is. Yep. Nice one for that, Billy. Legend. Pop it up on screen there, guys. The Fight for Rights and Freedom of Choice paperback book here. By buying this book, guys, you'll be supporting not only the fight for cannabis legalisation in Ireland, but the campaigner there that we just witnessed through that interview, Phil Monk, who wrote this book. So definitely do get out there and support Phil Monk if you're at all interested in supporting him, and purchase this book. I'd imagine whatever small profits there are there from this book would be going towards the fight for cannabis legalisation, and you could definitely trust that it's going to a good place. I know Outlaw's book is actually like half the price of this. I think it's like €7 or something like that for Outlaw's book at the moment. Outlaw's book's got 40 pages though. What's Phil Monk's book got? Doesn't say, does it? 222 pages. So you get like what's that? More than 5 times the content for only twice the price. Less than twice the price. So yes, guys, The Fight for Rights and Freedom of Choice. This is by Phil Monk and Weedy Undersigned. Robert Jappi gets the forward in there, and Alan Buffrey is a contributor, and apparently one more, Guy Coxell. So get it over there, guys, if you haven't already got this book. Check it out if you're all interested in learning more about Phil Monk and kind of, you know, what's going on inside his head as he puts it down on paper. Hazmat says, because they have the power, I'd love to have a chat with you at some stage. Yeah, not a bother at all, Hazmat. Maybe some evening there we can open up a Zoom room and just shoot the breeze there for a couple of minutes if that suits. Owen Fitz, Shane Gogan. Yeah, that's the guy. Shane Gogan was the Limerick man who was murdered. Apparently mistaken identity that happened there in that case. It was a rival. I think it was like a revenge attack between two rival gangs that were feuding in the area at the time. And this guy, Shane Gogan, he a big strong lad now, in fairness, like a rugby lad, and he unfortunately, you know, he didn't survive the case of mistaken identity when he was shot, not once, I think it was like 2 gunshot wounds he sustained that night. Crazy stuff, you know, and all because of prohibition, the prohibition that they continue to fucking uphold and protect so much. And as I have a couple of you here, guys, and I'd just like to bring to your attention a recent publication that came out of the Drug Policy Commission, I think is the name of the group. It features people that you probably are well aware of, people like Richard Branson and a few others. I'll get up the paper there in 1 second. Boom, there we go. So this is the Global Commission on Drug Policy. This is another, again, you know, another big fucking thing that we need to be kind of taking note of, is that there's leading commissions out there that are put together, you know, by some very well-to-do people, and they're calling for an end to the prohibition of drug policy. So if you go over here, if you just Google that headline, you'll be able to find this. It's over on canex.co.uk, so canex.co.uk. That's where you'll find this article. And when you click into this link here, Time to End the Prohibition, it'll open up the document. And I just want to go down. I was going to do this on Friday, but I just think it's worthwhile in getting stuck into this there now. And maybe we might be able to revisit it as I read more of this document on tomorrow when I get the time. But I was just kind of briefly going through the document, having a look at some of the infographics that were contained inside it. And I just couldn't help it just get really annoyed by this one. So here we see a lot of statistics here, you know, around injecting drug-related health risks, drug-related deaths. We know in Ireland, you know, that number is quite high for the period of the 90s up until present day. Was it not over a 200% increase in overdoses or something like that in that time period? Here we're seeing a 60% increase from 2010 to 2015 directly associated to drug use. So it went from 105,000 to 168,000 deaths. And again, you know, if you listen to people like Professor Carl Hart or Dr. Carl Hart, Dr. Carl Hart will tell you like that a vast majority of these deaths are avoidable because a lot of them are arising due to, you know, miseducation, polydrug use, people mixing drugs and not really knowing, people accidentally mixing drugs, you know, because the substance that they got was actually adulterated with other substances, you know, and therefore they didn't realize, you know, that they were fucking snorting veterinary worming medicine, you know. It was that the sheep deworming pills, that's what it was. Anti-parasitic fucking veterinary drugs. That was what was found in the late Jerry Ryan's system when they tested him in his autopsy. They found veterinary drugs in him, and sure, like, you know, what fellas out there actually putting veterinary drugs into themselves. No, in fairness, like, I don't know, ivermectin comes to mind there, but we won't go down that road. But this one and this next one is really even more enraging. This is globally, these figures down here in the second half of the document. So globally, every year, according to the Global Commission on Drug Policy, $100 billion dollars are spent on the war on drugs. So $100 billion spent on the war on drugs. And, you know, over that 5-year period there, you know, so there would have been $500 billion spent on the war on drugs. But yet still the deaths associated with drug use went up by over 60%, over 60%. Even in Ireland, things got way out of hand. You know, the availability of drugs has skyrocketed. Recent publications here in Ireland said that the rate of cocaine use has increased by over 10,000% in Ireland. That's astronomical. That's crazy. But it's even more crazier when you think that there's $100 billion being spent globally every year to tackle this problem of drug use, illegal drug use in our communities. You know, problem. That's where I should be using the things. But you know, it's just incredible to think. Also, as well, you know, you look at this here next to it again. You know, from 1998 to 2018, the number of people who use drugs worldwide increased. It increased by almost 100 million people. It went from 185 million people using drugs worldwide to 269 million people using, and this is illegal drugs worldwide. So you'd an over 100 million increase in illegal drug use at a time when, again, over that 10-year period, using that figure there, the 100 billion, you're saying that there was $1 trillion spent possibly in a 10-year period that's seen the rate of drug use go up by almost 100%. You know, it almost doubled, or, well, no, sorry, it didn't almost double, it almost went up by almost 50% there, almost 100,000. So crazy statistics here. And then, you know, just go down to the final figure here that I'd like to just bring our attention to. This one, the global drugs market annually turn over $500 billion. That is ludicrous. And only 1% of laundered drug money is seized. So only 1% of the 500 billion will be seized. But that, you know, 1%, that's still, what's that, 5 billion, is it? $5 billion gets seized every year. Is that 1%? Yeah, 50 billion would be 10, 5 billion would be 1%. 5 billion sounds like a lot, but like the boys are getting off, like, you know, riding off into the sunset for 495 billion, you know? That's an insane amount of money. So for every dollar that is spent on the war on drugs, criminals make 5. And then off of that $5, they pay back then only 1% in tax, which works out at 50 cents off of every $5 that the illegal drug gangs, let's say, are effectively paying in a tax. And like people like Frank Fien want to continue with this. You know, he believes that this is a health-led approach to drugs. You know what I mean? A health-led approach to drugs. Look at your debt rates, dude. They're fucking going off the charts, man. We need to get this shit under control. We're locking up fathers and mothers and stuff like that for just simply engaging in the use of a substance that brings pleasure to their life. And if it's not bringing pleasure to their life, and if they're engaged in abuse of a drug, then we need to be affording them access to healthcare. Not access to the judicial system, to the judges and the courts and to the police and stuff. No, like if a person is abusing drugs, we need to treat them with compassion and care, and that's how we're going to get them back in the straight and narrow. That's how we're going to get them to beat their drug addiction, slapping handcuffs on them and bringing them in front of a judge and you know, slapping them with a load of shame, you know, shaming you dirty, filthy criminal. We're going to lock you up now. We're going to take you away from your kids and all of this stuff. But yeah, that I think that was a very good publication that was put out there recently. And again, you know, people included in that publication, I'm just going to pop them back up in screen just so you can see some of the faces. So here we go. Boom. So these are some of the people in behind it. As I said, Richard Branson included in here. Anybody else inside here that is of interest. Louise Arbour, former High Commissioner for Human Rights Canada. Interesting. Possible guess here. Helen Clark, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, is included in this Global Commission on Drug Policy. Former President of Colombia. Also Nick Clegg, former Deputy Prime Minister of the UK. So they've got some like interesting individuals here, like, a lot of ex-people, ex-prime ministers, ex-presidents, former president here of Chile, Richard Lagos, president of Nigeria. Sweet, it's good to hear, like, because even in places like Nigeria there, I've seen some crazy fucking news stories coming out of there, and people getting all sorts of crazy punishments for just having some cannabis. Like, sometimes they have a lot of cannabis now, in fairness, like, but there's some good voice documentaries out there that show, how cannabis is actually a vital part of their economy over there, especially for women, which was quite interesting. I think that was out in Nigeria. I believe that's where that documentary was coming from at the time. But it showed, how women were able to not have to do some of this back-breaking labour that they were once engaged in, and they were able to kind of just grow and sell some cannabis and make maybe twice or 5 times as much money, especially when they brought it from into the bigger cities, which was an interesting one. Is Martin still talking? Fuck you, John. Hazmat says Frank is off. He's a rocker, man. He is indeed. He is indeed. I don't know. Did you see the new T-shirt that I put out there earlier, Hazmat? I'll pop it up on screen there again. Not my skeptical hippo. Here he is. This is out available over there on the merch store at the moment, Hazmat, and it's grow your own dope, plant a politician, and it's myself planting none other than our buddy Frank Feehan. So I'm just getting used to the old Illustrator and Adobe, messing around with that. I'm no way talented at all. Like, the logo came made already by a talented person over on a Fiverr design, and then Frank Feehan's picture there, it was just literally traced over his profile photo from Twitter, and that was it, the end result. I don't know if you can notice, but if I zoom in here, like, if you pay attention to his necktie, look at Frank Feehan's necktie. You see that? You see what I did to his necktie? That's the kind of Frank I can vibe with. DB Woodcraft says, at Martin's World, does recreational use get a mention in that document? Not that I know of. As I said, I've not gone through it extensively. I've looked at a lot of the infographics and some of the information around the infographics, but there isn't anything that stood out. Like, I believe it just talks about just drug use at large, so I believe all of it is probably recreational drug use. I didn't see any mentions of say, like, medical cannabis or psychedelic therapies or anything like that. All that's in there is just kind of looking at the harms that the current drug policy are having on our society, and how, maybe we need to take a different approach. So I think that's the gist of the document, really. I don't think it differentiated between, like, medical use and drug abuse and stuff like that. It's just and recreational use. It's just talking about just drug use in at large. Yeah, nice one, Hazmat. I think it's good to hear there are a good few people out there who like this. I was a bit worried that my artwork wasn't that great. I've actually ordered one of the T-shirts now. I might have or prematurely put it up on the store. Let's hope that it prints out nicely. I should have it hopefully before Christmas. But look, given that it's 10 days to Christmas now, guys, jeez, it might not arrive until the New Year's. John Finnegan says, loves you, bro, you know this. Yeah, man, feelings mutual, John. Feelings mutual, buddy. I love it. I love it. Billy Bond says his strain name is called Proper Plum. Excellent. B9F says, Neov Eastwood said the prohibitionist playing cards pics with politicians around the world will be back on sale next year from Release's website. Nice one. That's good to hear. I haven't seen that one, actually, with the prohibitionist playing cards. I must try to look that one up. Prohibitionist playing cards. Let's see if a quick Google will find it. From Transform, you said. No, but I know it looks. No, I'm not able to find it there up on Google. But yeah, I look forward to when Neo drops it up and thing, and I'll check it out then. Anyway, nice one for that B9F. Hype says, looks like Gus from Recess. Now that you say it, he actually kind of does. It's definitely Frank, though. It's definitely Frank. Billy Bonds shares DT any longer than 2 lines and I'll get sweary and ranty. John Finnegan says, phone dying, I'm away from home. Hopefully I can get a charger before your sister stream or starts, dude. You know the one I mean. It's good, but it ain't no Martin's World. Nice one. Appreciate that, John. At least I know who's your favourite now. But yes, I must start signing off there, guys, in the next couple of minutes. We'll pack up a bowl, guys. We'll give the stream like five more minutes. Get your comments in there. Say whatever you want to say there, and I'll do my best to read it out. I'm going to pack up a bowl there really quickly. We'll blaze one up. We'll read your comments, and then we'll say our farewells. As it's been a long stream here today, you know, fair play to anybody who's here since we started at 4:20, as we're now just rolling up on like that 3-hour mark. 4 hours and 53 minutes streaming right now. So if you're one of those dedicated listeners, guys, much love and respect to you. Like, fair play. Thanks very much. Really do appreciate it. And to anybody else, you know, if you've been too busy to be able to listen to 3 hours of just ranting around cannabis, and, you know, much love to you as well, guys. Oh, yes. As soon as you open up this grinder, the smell is just delicious. It just meets you. And ZN, what's happening, ZN? Zombie Nation dropping in just in time to say goodbye. Will you be joining Phil Monk and Mackie for some conspiracy talks later on, ZN? Will the rest of the crew be there, or is it just Mackie and Phil shooting the breeze around conspiracies? Got my bowl of civil disobedience packed up here anyway, guys, and we got my torch of freedom at the ready, courtesy of what used to be our 420 supplies on this sticker, but sadly it's faded to just a plain white circular sticker now. Send us down some stickers there, R420, and we'll brand up my lighter again. Because she's regasable, like, you know, so there's no point in throwing this away, but it'd be great to get the sticker on there again, dude. So, torch of freedom at the ready, guys. Blaze on up. Smoke them if you got them. Zian, you have no idea about being on tonight? I take that as you're probably not on, so maybe. The boys get the night off. Barry Field says, all Ryanair's flights are being diverted to Malta. I wonder what the flights are at the moment. Cork to Malta. Show flights, Google flights. What are the prices ranging from? Let's see. Oh, sugar, you can't really fly direct actually from Cork to Malta, can you? No, you can't, so we have to check Dublin. Oh, you fucking Dublin. And did it do any direct flights? Yeah, you're talking like the cheapest one here now I'm seeing is the 26th of, I don't know, the 19th of January, €42, guys. It's only €20 if you go for the week. Man, that's crazy. So I'll pop this up on screen just so you can see. I am, oops, not that. This. So over on Google Flights, looking at the flights over there, if you fly from Dublin, 355 on January 19th, and if you return then on January 26th at 9 p.m., it's only 20 quid. 20 bucks. Man. Who's going to Malta? Malta. Malta. 20 bucks though, that's seriously low. That's crazy. I could barely get a fucking taxi into town for 20 bucks, like, and here you're able to fly to Malta. Oh, you might have been able to see all of that actually, as some of the screen was actually cut off under the hot box. But 20 bucks to Malta, 19th of January, 26th of January, out and back, 20 bucks. Fuck's sake. Because you can't even get the bus to Dublin for that, can you? Seriously, like, I actually, all jokes aside, that's sad. Like it's €60 there for the train almost from Cork to Dublin. €20 for a plane, a 3.5 hour flight across the globe. Hype says no tickets left. And DB Woodcraft asking for how much for one way. Zach, not nice. Zaka, not nice. Is that the name? Yo, Martin, anywhere can get deep web links for Christmas trees. Christmas trees at darkweb.com. No, I think shit. If I don't know if the Reddit thread. There's no Reddit thread available. But Canazon is a good dark web marketplace. Excuse me, that fucking milkshake is screwing up my throat. But Canazon, it's like Amazon, but Canazon. That's a dark web marketplace that would be worth checking out. It's pretty much Cannabis kind of exclusive, apparently, just not given the name. I think that is still active. Anybody else in the chat out there, guys? Anybody else got a dark web marketplace name that they would be able to drop in the comments? I'll give it a shout out there, and it might help inform others. I don't use it. I haven't used it actually in quite a long time now. It's been about maybe a year or so since I even turned on the bloody Tor browser to look at the dark web. So if anybody else out there's got recommendations for Zach and Not Nice, they might be able to hook you up. I'd be curious as well. Maybe I might go and have a look on them as well later on, because it's always good it's interesting to go onto these dark web marketplaces and just kind of have a browse of what's on offer, you know, a bit of window shopping. It's like, yeah, I'll have some ecstasy, I'll take some MDMA. Ecstasy and MDMA, sorry, same. Hype says Google the Bible. Plenty of drugs in that. Plenty of instructions on drugs anyway, or at least stories about people high on drugs. Shout out to Danny Nemu, episode 11 of the podcast, I believe, or maybe 12. Zygel says tourism is going to be booming in Malta, methinks. Yeah, that's what you would think, all right. But again, you know, just go back to what I was kind of saying earlier. There's going to be no avenue for people to kind of buy cannabis legally. So is there going to be now a big problem with street dealers? And I met one or two street dealers when I was over there. Shout out to Casa de Strogas. Myself and himself went to a medical cannabis conference over there. And when we were over there, we were told about, like, don't ever buy off the guys in the streets. They'll sell you nothing but, like, fucking ditchweed. Load of dried herbs is kind of all they had. Like, literally, it was brown. Because when we were told about it, we were just like, oh man, that sounds horrible. And then not long after, some dude comes up to us in the street and he's like, oh, do you want to buy some, I think he offered us cocaine. And we were just like, no, we'd like to get some cannabis. Like, can you get us some cannabis? And he was just like, oh, hashish, marijuana. And he pulled out this little bag, like tiny little fucking bag, like, and it was brown, but it wasn't hash. It was herbal brown looking stuff. Like, you're just like, dude, that's not fucking weed. Like, you know, it's not even smokable probably. So is that just going to exacerbate that problem? We're just going to have a load of dudes now in the streets just selling fucking weed around the place because tourists don't have a place to go and buy it? Hopefully not. Hopefully they sort that stuff out. Hopefully they'll be watching Martin's World and be like, geez, there's a lot of people interested in travelling here. We should open her up to tourists. Yeah, let's open up to tourists. Thanks, Martin. Not a bother, Malta. Just send me my first class ticket there, and the old penthouse suite there on one of those lovely hotels down on the that little fucking bay that we stayed in. I can't remember the name of it. Something Bay. It's beautiful. George's Bay. Beautiful spot though. Any others out there? Oh, before I forget, guys, I still have a couple of you there. The raffle is still going over on the website, over on martinsworld.ie. If you head over there to the 420 News blog, you'll be able to find the raffle, a link for a raffle up there. There is just 35 numbers left now, so we're halfway there. So if anybody would like to get a number, by all means, get in touch with me. Shout out to 2 people who messaged me also on the fucking Martin's World hotline. I only realised there now that the phone is actually not allowing me to reply to your messages. I replied to your messages, just asking what numbers you wanted, but those messages never sent. I sent a test message to myself earlier today, and I fucking, that's when I only just realised. I was like, shit, yeah, the phone is messed up. Because it's really old, it's like fucking got a broken screen and shit. It was like a spare phone that I just had lying around the gaff. So apologies for that. I will follow up with you there on my own proper phone that's got the Major Smoke Up sticker still on the back. But yeah, I'll follow up with you guys. But yeah, as I said, 35 numbers left there. They'll probably be hopefully gone there before the next 10 days. We'll get this raffle done before Christmas. We'll get those prizes out to the lucky winners then as well. We'll pop it up on screen there so you can all see it. Boom, there we go. So if you go over to the 420 News blog, so martinsworld.ie/420 News, you'll find the link for the fundraiser. It's maybe the 4th blog up there in the list, and you'll be able to see the numbers that are available. Just message me whatever number you would like. If it's if you don't see a name next to it here, it's available. Just message me the number, and once I get your message, I'll confirm, yeah, your name is next to it. Then you can just forward the payment by PayPal or by Revolut, and all of the funds, guys, are going to help covered this stoned-looking dog here, Chase. I'll make his photo a bit bigger, so you can see what I mean. Like, he's got those lazy eyes going on. And he's posing next to my lovely, lovely raspberries. Those were really enjoyable, actually. Those raspberries, super sweet. But yeah, Chase had to get a CT scan. That's all the information is there. CT scans cost fucking 700 quid. Wasn't expecting a bill like that. So a buddy of mine gave me 3 lovely brown envelopes, each containing a mystery prize worth a whopping €100, or depending on who you ask, you know. Current rates might be more. You know, is it gold in there? Is the price is fluctuating? Who knows? Only the winner will know what's in there. But once all of the numbers are gone, we'll do a live stream, do a live draw here using a random number generator, and 3 winners will be picked out. So if you enter once, you could win 1 prize, but if you enter 3 times, potentially, if you're fucking lucky enough, you could win all 3. So definitely, guys, get in touch. martinsworldpodcast@gmail.com. The phone number there as well to the Martin's World hotline is up on the blog post, and there's also a link here as well which allows you to join the Telegram chat group. When you join that chat group, you won't be able to send messages actually into that chat group. That's like a one-way system from me to you, but from there you will be able to send me a message then directly, and get in contact that way too. That number isn't active on WhatsApp or Telegram just yet. As I said, this fucking phone is needing an update, and it won't let me install the apps and shit. So, so yeah, that's the fundraiser, guys. I forgot to mention it the last like 3 or 4 streams that I done. So hence the reason why the numbers are probably still available. So that's my bad. I should, as I say, I'm terrible at marketing these stuff. I should be kind of just mentioning at the start and the end of every stream. But definitely, Barry's got 3 of the best numbers. He does indeed. But Barry Field there in the comments was quick to secure number 7, 42, and 69. And he went with the code name Loki, or Lucky. So fingers crossed there for you, Barry Fields. Lee Lee says, "Oh, nice one for the reminder. Loved Strain Hunters." What's happening, Lee? Lee, was it yourself actually? I think that was one of the names who had actually messaged me on my phone. I don't know if you'd heard that there. My phone was actually acting up. I tried to reply to two people, and excuse me. Yeah, there was a Lee here anyway, a surname Lee. I won't say the first name just in case. But yeah, if that is yourself, Lee, apologies there. I will be following up there with another text message later on off another number. And Constant Gardner giving a shout out as well to the Strain Hunters. He says there's a new Strain Hunters out, lads, and he puts a link there in the YouTube chat. I'll pop it up on screen there just so you'll be able to see it. There's probably a title there for it. Don't want that music. So there you go, Strain Hunters South Africa Expedition Episode 1. It was just uploaded 4 hours ago. Nice one for that, guys. So there you go, a little bit of 420 news on the not 420 news today. New episode of Strain Hunters out there, guys, for anybody interested in giving it a watch. Yes. John Finnegan says, Frank Vian is formulating free flights to Malta. You just need to conform to his way of thinking to avail of this offer. I think you meant not conform to his way of thinking, and you'll get it. Yeah, he's kicking us out of Ireland effectively, is that? Sending us on over to Malta. I wouldn't mind it, man. If Frank Vian wants to buy me a gaff over in Malta, I'll leave. And sure, you know, he can buy me out. A house and a cannabis social club. That's what I need, Frank. And I'll go in, and John Finnegan then can start up John Finnegan's world. Or he's probably going to be on the seat next to me, will he? Will you be bought out as well, John? Oh, yummy. Billy Bond says, I used to phone Frank to give him real advice. And he was talking about the to talk to Frank for phone service there, I would imagine. Yeah, Hazmat's got to renew his passport. Lovely stuff. Good reminder there, wasn't it? I have to get Alexa's passport updated actually as well. It's going to go out of date in the next 3 months, and that's no bueno. Not what she's going to Oz. Ah, sweet. Yeah, that's a different Lee, so it's just a coincidence that you happened to pop into the chat there. So Lee, that was somebody else, but surname Lee. But yes, welcome to the show anyway. We're just about to sign off anyway, Lee, so apologies, and thanks for dropping in. We will be back though, guys, on Friday with some 420 news, and I look forward to it. We covered Malta stuff there today, but we'll look into it further. Hopefully maybe there might be more developments there in it. Hopefully they'll have published the bill in its entirety, and I can have a bit of a scan through it, pick out some interesting points. Poke holes in it again. Can you just highlight how we could do it better by just kind of looking at what they're doing over there and just push for better? Barry Fields by my own lovely Lee. The banks. The banks of my own lovely Lee. Right, so lads and lassies, thanks very much everybody for tuning in for what was an extra long episode today. Featuring myself and Phil Monk, and at times Elijah Daniel too popping in. Got the final word as John so well put it there in that interview. I'll shorten this down. I'll probably upload this interview in another video. But thanks everybody. It's been a good crack. It's been good chatting with you all, and I will be back on Friday. Until then, guys, stay blazed. Where is it? Yes, there we go. Stay blazed out there, guys. Keep it lit, be safe and all that, you know, watch your backs. Remember that the guards are still doing their 6-week campaign. That's still rolling out there, so be cautious of that. And if you are stopped and if they are going to drug test you, just be observant of how much time there is between when they pull you in and when they're going to give you the drug test, because effectively they are supposed to monitor you for 10 minutes. So keep that one under your hat. Don't tell them that, because you'll get off with it in court then afterwards if they make that mistake again. So there we go. That's your advice. If you hung around this long, that was a nice little treat for you. Peace and love, guys. Catch you Friday. Bye bye.